Good morning and welcome to Bowls Mount Maunganui for the final day of the Summerset National Fours Finals Day here in Bay of Plenty. And first up today, first of three matches we will be bringing to you is a Women's Fours semi-final. Debbie White up against Sandra Keith. Jocelyn Holton, Carol Cox and Bev Corbett playing alongside Debbie White, while Sandra Keith, her lead, Taylor Bruce, number 2, Selena Smith, and her 3 is Claire Hendra. They will be playing for a place in the final, which will scheduled to start around midday against the winner of the other semi-final, which will be playing at the same time as this one between Wendy Green and Denise West. I'm Brenton Vinnisroy. Alongside me in commentary is Kevin Hickland. Very good morning, Kevin. It's going to be a big day of bowls to complete the Summerset National Fours.
Yes, certainly is, Brenton, and good morning. And we've got another splendid morning here at Mount Maunganui. We're due for another day of sunshine. And, of course, we've got a full day, a full roster of these quarterfinals, semi-finals and finals of both the men's and women's fours. And, of course, this feature game here, the women's semi-final, we should see a very, very good encounter with Debbie White, of course, skipping the newly capped blackjack for the World Bowls. Bev Corbett, of course, who won the fours back in 1997, playing as part of the Khan dynasty, and no doubt holds the record for the most number of Waikato titles. Very, very good player. And, of course, Carol Cox and Jocelyn Holton were in the Debbie White's fours side last year, who got beaten in the semi-finals in Wellington. And, of course, Taylor Bruce leading for Sandra Keith. Taylor Bruce won the fours in 2017 with Joe Edwards, and of course runner-up this year in the women's pairs, Selena Goddard, who also won the fours in 2014, and Claire Hendra, very, very well-performed bowler from the Wellington from Silverstream, who was runner-up in the women's pairs this year with Taylor Bruce against Selena Smith Goddard at that time, and of course Sandra Keith. Well, Sandra Keith needs no introduction, former blackjack, and certainly one of the dominant players a few years back, and still in the Canterbury region, still one of the dominant women players for sure. So we're in for, I think, a great encounter. And, of course, also out in front of us, we've got the men's, where we've got the defending champion, Dean Elgar, up against it's a replay of last year's final. Wellington, Dean Elgar up against Mike Kernahan, Morris Signs playing Shannon McElroy, and the other women's final between Wendy Green and Denise West. So throughout the morning, we'll keep you updated on those scores as they come through, but we're underway now in the first end here at Bowls Mount Maunganui. No wind, just absolutely perfect conditions, and we hope you enjoy today's coverage that we bring to you.
Yeah, absolutely. The wind picked up throughout the day yesterday, and quite a factor in the third and final round. So we'll see how impactful it is in the men's fours final later. So those two men's matches, which Kevin mentioned, the quarterfinals. So they're a round behind the women. Still, we have found two of the semi-finalists, of course, with Gary Lawson to play Mike Carroll in their semi-final from around midday. Well, we'll find the other semi-finalists from those two remaining men's quarterfinals. As we've had the first couple of bowls from the leads. Now, Carol Cox, now Selena Smith for Sandra Keith's quartet. Obviously, as Kevin mentioned, on the pairs with Caitlin Inch at the start of the year. Unfortunately, things didn't go the way she would have wanted to. Trans-Tasman with the Blackjacks. It was one of those unfortunate to miss out on selection for World Bowls.
Yeah, very unfortunate. And of course, we know there's been, as there is, when there's any side that's selected for an international event, there's always talk afterwards about who should have been in, who should have been out. Selectors have made their decisions, and that's the team that's going. And yes, there's disappointment, certainly disappointment for Selena and Wendy Jensen as well. But we just now, it's our story, selectors are never accountable for who they select, they're only accountable for their results. So, and I'm sure Selena Smith would very, very much like to get into this final and clinch another New Zealand title, which would certainly, as we see Selena now draw a dead toucher, just moves the jack around the corner, just centimetres around, sitting now the Taylor Bruce and bowl in front, and will be holding two. Bev Corbett, the number 3 now for Debbie White. And of course, Bev Corbett is part of the Settle dynasty from Hinuera. Bev was a Settle, and of course, Stu Settle, the patron of Bowls Waikato. And Bev, part of the New Zealand over 60 side, and just going to run into the front bowl of Taylor Bruce's, but a very, very well performed player. Unlucky not to have played for New Zealand. In fact, got selected for a New Zealand side and had a family bereavement and could not make the side a few years back. So, you know, a very, very accomplished player, and with a fantastic record, especially in fours, with Bev Corbett.
Yeah, well, a great addition to Debbie White's four. There's no doubt about that. The Hinuera team listed as composite, but I'm pretty certain all these players play out of Hinuera.
I've got a feeling Carol Cox is a member of both Pataruru and Hinuera. I'm not 100% sure of that, but I think that may be the case. So
certainly all decked out in the Hinuera colours as well, which we no doubt, of course, saw in Bowls 3-5. There's another good effort here from Bev Corbett. It's just going to get a touch on previous bowl. Still remaining there, that Selena Smith bowl, the shot bowl, as you can see there on screen. Pretty much in touch with the jack.
Only one bowl away was Bev Corbett from getting the result of touching onto those counting bowl, that being the Selena Smith bowl. Of course, one shot as the skips change over. Sandra Keith, who plays out of the Allentine Club in, what do you call it, Country, Canterbury? Is that what they have town country down there, don't they? Good. Taylor Bruce reselected back in the New Zealand side for the World Bowls. So she'd have been delighted with that selection, where she'll play the pairs with Joe Edwards and lead in the fours. So Taylor Bruce, no doubt, would have been delighted with her recall for this up-and-coming World Championship, as we watch now Debbie White.
The newest blackjack, yet to play for New Zealand, but will at the World Championships. What a place to make your debut for New Zealand. But you know, over the last 12 months or 13 months, she's certainly shown what she's capable of. The highlight being the singles title,
where she played
Carlton Cornwall last year against Selena Smith, of course, in the final.
Yeah, got a great record in the Waikato, and of course the Bowls 3-5 in that Hinuera side, and has been duly rewarded. As the Sandra Keith bowl breaking towards the head, trying to get a slight touch on the jack, and she does. It moves it round the corner. Superb opening bowl by the skip, as it's chalked by Selena, by Claire Hendry, and I'd say they may well be looking at 3. We'll see now. On the backhand, will Debbie White endeavouring to reach up through those bowls with weight to try and get contact with the jack. Green running this morning, got up to around 17 seconds yesterday. It won't quite be at that speed this morning, and we see Debbie White run into one of the shorter bowls. Well, likely about 15.5, 16. That green will open up it this morning. Bit of cloud cover, but the sun will certainly be out. And I'm picking by the time we get through into the final stages of the men, especially as we saw yesterday, Brendan, when that sun really came out. I think this will be running between 17 to 18 seconds, a great speed.
Yeah, especially if that cloud cover disappears. The final bowl of the opening end from Sandra Keith. Doesn't look like it's going to add to the count, but I think that's a big number, 3 or 4, I believe it was, for Sandra Keith's quartet. This opening end, 3 confirmed, so 3-0. Sandra Keith leading Debbie White after the first of 18 ends in this women's fours semi-final. Just reminding you that Sandra Keith overcame Margaret O'Connor 19-7 in the quarterfinals yesterday. Debbie White, 21-15 win over Liz Whitten. The big story, though, was Wendy Green, who was in action in the other women's semi-final, which we'll keep you up to date with. 27-22 over Mandy Boyd, the defending champion. So a new champion will be crowned here at Bowls Mount Maunganui.
Obviously we didn't see the game, Brendan, because it was over on the other green, but I believe that Mandy Boyd, who was behind in that game earlier on, caught up, and in fact got to about a 6 or 7 shot lead, I believe, around 21-14, 21-15, and then didn't score again until the last end and dropped a couple of big numbers on those last few ends coming home, and had no answer for the Wendy Green side. Wendy Green, very, very good player, accomplished player, of course, was out of the Bay of Plenty. Very, very good player, well performed at representative level as we watch. Good opening bowl from Taylor Bruce and a very good response from Jocelyn Holton, just going by the Taylor Bruce bowl sitting virtually jack level.
So Wendy Green playing Denise West of Newlyn, the Newlyn 4, all decked out in pink.
For those who may not be aware, that Denise West was a former Denise Samuel, who was well known around the North Harbour and Auckland area. Now Denise West, former Denise Samuels. And of course, in that side as well is Paris Baker, the world under-25 singles champion, which she won last year in the UK on the carpet, playing under her heritage, under the Tongan flag. So certainly a great player for the future, no doubt about that, is Paris Baker. And she's leading, I presume, for the Denise West side.
Yeah, so we'll keep you up to date with that women's semi-final as it continued, along with the men's quarter-finals, which Kevin mentioned before. Mike Kernahan against Dean Elgar. Rematch of the two skips from the final last year at 99 Bowling Club. And Morris Symes and Shannon McElroy, as well as the last of the quarterfinals, are played out here at these Summerset National Fours. There's Carol Cox on the mat for this Inuela 4. Skipped by Debbie White.
Needing to come back towards the head, just going by with a couple of metres of weight, more than likely. Had a good line. Selena Smith now, of course, formerly, up until recently, Selena Goddard. Now, under her married name is Selena Smith on the backhand. Looks to be on a relatively good line, just breaking down towards the head now. Sandra Keith looking at this bowl as it breaks towards the head and sitting in behind the jack, and will come in and sit just in behind the jack. Very good bowl from the number 2 for the Sandra Keith side.
Yeah, acknowledgement as well from Debbie White, along with Sandra Keith, that was a very good bowl. So back-to-back in, Selena Smith right on the money, putting the pressure on Debbie White's 4. So what can Carol Cox come up with this time? She hasn't got the weight right again, so too heavy with the first and not enough with the second, unfortunately, for Carol Cox. So a bit of an opening here for Sandra Keith's 4 to put more pressure on Debbie White, try and extend their early advantage.
So Claire Hendra, of course, who skipped the Taylor Bruce combination in the final of those the Summerset Peers earlier on in Wellington, and going to draw a good shot here as well. This is going to come towards the jack. We'll see now. If Corbett will reach up on her forehand, and very, very well performed player in Wellington. Won the Wellington singles this year, did Claire Hendra, so very much informed player with a very, very good record. And of course played New Zealand age group a couple of years back, as we watched this bowler Bev Corbett's just go past. So Sandra Keith saying to Claire Hendra, give me another yard of weight. No doubt. Good thing is for the Keith side, of course, the Taylor Bruce bowl is in behind the head, tucked nicely in between the 3 Hinuera bowls, giving a bit of protection for that drag of the jack, as the Hendra bowl is not going to break all the way into the counting line, but will definitely be 3 shots. So Bev Corbett, as Brendan rightly said, Hinuera side under pressure very early on, brought about by the consistent bowls of Taylor Bruce and Selena Smith. As we watch this bowl of Corbett's now, just going to get inside. They've got inside, it's sat on the bowl. Well played by the number 3 for the Waikato side. And looking on our monitor, well, it's difficult to say really, Brendan, who may have the shot, to be fair.
Yeah, certainly much needed bowl though, that wasn't it, from Bev Corbett, because it was really Sandra Keith's 4 off the front, dictating terms, who had the bowls around the jack, and much needed that one. So Debbie White has something to work with. If she gets on the mat, it'll be Sandra Keith to play first on this second end.
And Sandra Keith certainly playing with reaching weight to get up to the Bev Corbett bowl, which certainly the weight she's playing, and got a touch on the side bowl of her lead bowl, Taylor Bruce. Bev Corbett having a look to see whether that got a touch on the bowl, whether it made a difference.
Yeah, maybe even suggesting there and indicating a measure perhaps for shot. So maybe that little touch on the outside, not obviously what Sandra Keith was trying to do. Maybe he's done just enough to grab the shot back. But certainly the way she played indicated that Bev Corbett bowl was shot.
Good comeback response here from Debbie White, and sits right on top of the bowl, which was the measure bowl, as Brendan rightly said, and now be holding 2 shots, and I'm sure we'll see Sandra Keith play with that forceful weight to reach upon her forehand. Certainly not frightened to attack the head is Sandra Keith.
They're all interested.
Looking at this now, as this is breaking down towards the head, is it going to get enough of it? No, it doesn't. May have pushed one of them out though. And now
Leon, women's 4 semi-final.
Again, on a good line is the Skips bowl.
Doesn't have the weight. No, it doesn't. So it should just be the 1. But they're on the board, Debbie White. So 3-1 after 2 of the 18 ends. Still very early days, but impressive little fight back there from Debbie White's 4, because after the opening end, it was looking all Sandra Keith early on that second end, Kevin.
Well, it certainly was, because very experienced front combination in Taylor Bruce and Selena Smith. And of course, so that puts in a lot of pressure, a lot of onus on Bev Corbett and Debbie White, with having the less experienced front players to really be able to hold their game together. Because we saw yesterday in the Shannon McElroy Andrew Kelly game how important that came about as the game progressed. So, you know, you've got to expect Jocelyn Holt and Carol Cox. It might take them a couple of few ends to get into their work, but you know, they've got through to this semi-final stage, so they'll certainly more than well equipped to be able to give a good start for the Hinuera side. But make no mistake about it, it's a very, very experienced side with Taylor Bruce, Selena Smith, Claire Hendra and Sandra Keith. It is a very, very strong combination.
Yeah, it certainly is. A lot of the very best players in women's bowls in action in this semi-final. So it's great that we're able to bring it to you here from Bowls Mount Maunganui. Just reminding you that this is the first of 3 games we'll be bringing to you from the final day of the Summerset National Fours. We'll have the women's final to follow this. Winner of this match against the winner of the Wendy Green, Denise West match in the women's final. Then we will have the men's title decider from approximately 3:30 this afternoon, having the last of the men's quarterfinals played on this green at the moment. Then they'll be followed by the men's semi-finals, then that men's decider, which we will broadcast for you, and we'll give you an update of the scores. So looks like Morris Symes is up to a 2-0 lead after 2 ends of the 18 in the men's quarterfinal against Shannon McElroy. Morris Symes 2-0 over Shannon McElroy. Mike Kernahan is leading Dean Elgett 3-2 after 2 ends of 18 of that men's quarterfinal. Mike Kernahan leading 3-2 over Dean Elgett. And it is Wendy Green who is leading 2-0 over Denise West after 2 of the 18 ends in that women's fours semi-final. That's the other semi-final alongside this one that we are broadcasting for you. Debbie White against Sandra Keith.
As we just see Taylor Bruce with her second bowl, just draw the shot just inside the Jocelyn Holton bowl, sitting behind the jack. A well-weighted bowl as we watch this first bowl of Carol Cox looks to be on a good line. Debbie White's pretty keen on this bowl as it breaks down towards the head. And just going to run low of the jack. So the indication, so that'll beat the shot. No, there's 1 to the Keith combination according to the finger signs from Sandra Keith. Selena Smith will play on her forehand just to try and get past the Carol Cox bowl. If she gets a touch on the jack, the Taylor Bruce bowl is in waiting. It's not going to have the weight, that first bowl of Selena Smith. It's going to pull up short.
Yeah. Point to remember as well is that the women didn't play on this green yesterday. They were playing on the other green. So for some of them, it might be the first time they've actually played on this green all tournament.
That's correct, Brendan, because they played that. Because they played that all these games over there yesterday on the back green here at this wonderful complex here at Bowls Mount Maunganui. Certainly is a great, superb complex, and with all these sporting facilities in behind us here, cricket, hockey, rugby. Of course, it's got a test accredited cricket ground in behind us here. We've got all the sports here. Great facility for the local area. As we watch this second bowl now of Selena Smith, looks as though it's going to be on the narrow side, and it is. Runs into the short bowl.
Yeah, won't be happy with those two. So she was on the money the first couple of ends, but third end, unable to find her range. Creating an opening now for Bev Corbett, Kevin.
Yeah, with Debbie White indicating that the bowl of Carol Cox is sitting jack level, so that would no doubt then be a counter in front of the Taylor Bruce bowl, which sits in behind, as we see now Bev Corbett drawing down on. Just looks as though this is going to have to get under the bowl. It'll count. It just slips by. All but Debbie White more than happy with that bowl. So Claire Hendra now will play on her backhand. Very deliberate player is Claire Hendra. Always looks very closely at the shot that she's going to play. Studies it on the map beforehand. Playing on the backhand. Coming down towards the head now. Playing away from the port end here at the Mount Maunganui Club. Just going to go by with a metre of weight.
And now it's almost the tables have turned from the previous end. That Sandra Keith now only has that one Taylor Bruce bowl anywhere near the jack. It's all Debbie White bowls.
So if Corbett now playing her second and last bowl on this, the third end. Definitely holding a couple is the Waikato combination. And the Bev Corbett bowl just going to sit on another one of the bowls of the Hinuera side. I think it'll count. So Claire Hendra, no breeze at all here this morning, Brendan, is there? Absolutely just about completely still.
Flag's not moving at all. Yeah, it was pretty similar to this yesterday, and then we saw the wind pick up during the day, so expect something similar this afternoon once we get to the men's and women's fours finals. This is Mark Cameron, Bowls New Zealand CEO, watching on. We'll hear from him during our coverage today.
Just had hand surgery. Did the CEO, fully recovered. Now a second-year bowler at the Riverhead Club in North Harbour, and a very, very avid bowler now. Certainly enjoys in the hospitality as well at the Riverhead Club.
Well, I'm sure we have to see him playing here next year, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
National Fours, surely.
Couldn't play this year, of course, under an injury cloud. Went to the Taranaki Open Fours. So Debbie White now playing on that backhand, looks to have quite a bit of weight. And sat on some bowls, touched the Taylor Bruce bowl as well. The Bruce bowl actually fell in on the back of the head. That's going to make much difference. So just indicating how high the Taylor Bruce bowl. So Sandra Keith, very, very seasoned campaigner, is Sandra Keith. Giddens just goes past his weight on the outside. The Keith family, brothers as well. Also very, very accomplished players. And it's interesting, Brenton, the call looks to be they're certainly trying to look to get to the Taylor Bruce bowl, because if I look at the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all looks to be Hinuera bowls. So
A good chance to pick up a big number here if they can get dislodge that Bruce, that purple bowl.
So here is Debbie White on the search, on the hunt for the bowl, the Taylor Bruce bowl, and rocked it. She couldn't have got much closer. Rocked the bowl, rocked backwards and forwards.
You see Bev Corbett was riding it the whole time as well.
Certainly on target. So here now is Sandra Keith on the draw, on the backhand, definitely down on the head. She would breathe a sigh of relief after that last bowl. This looks on a good line. Is it going to come all the way under the head to the jack, or sit on something that sits on one of the bowls? And it'll be 2, I would say, to the...
So take one away. And now we might have a measure for second, will we?
I thought I heard, might have been Bev Corbett say 2. And we're going to see the measuring for the Hinuera side being done by Jocelyn Holton, the lead. They'll flick the measure around. 1 being taken out.
The opportunity here for Debbie White's forward to head straight back in this semi-final. Sandra Keith picked up a 3 on the opening end. Were dictating terms early in the second end. Did very well. Did Bev Corbett, Debbie White to grab it back and to pick up a shot to get on the board. Now pretty impressive in this, an opportunity to score a multiple to level the scores.
Well, definitely like a 5-shot chance to get to that bowl, Brendan, where, you know, Debbie White all but got the absolute perfect result. Still measuring that, the measure on the Taylor Bruce bowl. Back around now to the Hinuera bowls.
Well, I think this could be much more than 2, isn't it?
Now going to one of the back bowls of the Hinuera side as well. 3.
3, so they couldn't quite score that big number, but 3 takes them into the lead for the first time. So Debbie White now leading Sandra Keith 4-3 after 3 of the 18 ends in this women's fours semi-final here at Bowls Mount Maunganui. And I must say, Kevin, after dropping a 3 on the opening end, it's been a good recovery from the Hinuera quartet.
Oh, certainly has, and for the front players, for Jocelyn Holton and Carol Cox, now are into the game. We're in front. We've scored on 2 ends in a row, and right, let's just get into it. And so there, the pressure straight away back on the Taylor Bruce, Selena Smith, Claire Hendra, and Sandra Keith side. That right, we've got a game on our hands here for sure, and we're going to have to do our job off the front for sure. Because they didn't that end, as you rightly said, that Selena Smith bowls, her 2 bowls, should have been very unhappy with those 2 bowls. And they're straight away then that puts the pressure, which it duly did. And of course they were only just a fingernail away from scoring at least a 5. So a very good head played by the Waikato side, the Hinuera side, as we see this first bowl. And arresting Brendan, we pretty much have changed the length as well. We saw yesterday what a difference that made in that men's fours game when the length got changed around. We saw what I would say Shannon McElroy yesterday strategically get his side back into the game when they were 9-4 down, and part of that was by changing the length of the jack at a certain stage of the game. And as we see here straight away, we see the Taylor Bruce bowl is about 2 metres short. Jocelyn Holton's 1.5 metres over. So it's important that these front 2 players on both sides get that length right.
Yeah, the first Jocelyn Holton bowl in out right there, you can see, right pretty much on the ditch. Not in the ditch though. So it's still in play. This one looks far better weight. Hasn't quite got the line, but it's going to end almost jack level.
Yeah, jack level weight. Taylor Bruce play on the forehand. Burnside player this year, of course, as well. getting runner-up in the New Zealand Pairs, also with her very good friend Caitlin Bassett. They won the Canterbury Pairs and they also won the Canterbury Triples. So with Taylor Bruce skipping, so a good year, and of course a recall back into the Blackjacks sort of highlights a very, very good year. And no doubt Taylor Bruce will be looking forward to that international challenge, as we all are, come May, June. But a lot of bowls to be played between now and then, which will help to get those players all in good stead going into the World Championships, as we see the bowl of Carol Cox. It's going to pull up short, and this is quickly seen, Brennan, that change of length. And, you know, the conditions are perfect, no wind, green's in good order, so it's just a matter of concentration on that weight. So Selena Smith play on her backhand, playing up towards the port end here. Club Mount Maunganui on the backhand. It's not going to have the legs either. It's going to pull away under the head. In fact, it gets past, but still a metre, at least a metre short of the jack.
Yes, the shot at the moment, but still a long way away from being on the head.
So it's a clear view, clear line, draw line on the backhand for Carol Cox, the number 2 for Debbie White. That backhand side just draws in between the Jocelyn Holton bowl and the Selena Smith bowl. Would definitely be shot. Certainly got the line right. Just going to go by a metre and a bit, but certainly had the line right to the jack. So Selena Smith just to improve on her last bowl. You can see there now clearly that the Smith bowl is definitely the shot, but about a metre in front. So Selena Smith will be endeavouring to improve on that in this semi-final of this Summerset National Fours. This looks a better bowl from Selena Smith now, as this is breaking in towards the head just to get under the bowl of Jocelyn Holton. The dozen comes and sits along jack level. That's the sort of bowl which Sandra Keith wanted. Bev Corbett, though, she's more than equal to the task of drawing that bowl. A little flick on the delivery. The traditional Bev Corbett always just gives the bowl a little flick, but looks to be under the line and underweighted, and will be on that backhand side.
Yeah, she didn't like it on the mat, watching it all the way down, but knew it wasn't what she was after almost as soon as it left her hand.
So Claire Hendra, she'll persevere down on that backhand side. That's the scoring side without any doubt for the Sandra Keith side, as we play this the fourth end. Holding 2 shots is the Sandra Keith skip side, and this bowler Claire Hendra's also now just got to get past the front, and it won't. Runs into the front bowls, which are a metre and a half lower the jack. So Bev Corbett now will want to improve on her first. She knows that. And the Hinuera colours. Question again that weight, and it's going to be it's short. So here's now, it's a great chance here now for Claire Hendra, because Taylor Bruce got a bowl tucked in behind the back of the head by a metre and a bit as well. So everything here to play for the Sandra Keith skip side.
Oh, it's interesting. It's almost what we saw in the men's game that we brought to you in the round of 16 yesterday, where the men changed the length and they actually backfired on them, and it's the same thing here. It was Jocelyn Holton who changed the length and went long, and it's the opposite team, the opposition, who are taking advantage of it and have got the closer bowls around the head, because it's quite scattered. It hasn't been the greatest display from the first 3 players.
Good
Selena Smith getting the closest.
Good thing for Debbie White on this particular end, though, Brendan, is that it's got a clear view on that backhand draw. There's nothing in the road, no front bowls at all to run into, so it's a clear view on that backhand side of the ring. And no, just taking into her vision that shot bowl sitting alongside the jack of Selena Smith is to be a target to get to draw out to there and come from there, but that won't, that's for sure. That bowl is, in fact, it'll be the shortest bowl on the green. It's about 15 feet short. Disappointed with that. Now can Sandra Keith really capitalise on this opportunity? Holding a couple is the Keith skip side. I just question how that line is. And no, it's going to be again. It's well under the head and weight as well.
Oh, everyone really struggling, bar really Selena Smith on this end with this length.
Well, the pinkish bowl sitting out to the side, that's it, the clear Hendra bowl for Debbie White. That's your target line. If you know you're drawing inside that, it's a bowl that you should just be looking at. You know if you draw inside that line, you're going to be close to the target.
I think the weight's been the problem though, hasn't it?
And this is going to run into the very, very short bowl again. Did it turn over enough to make that bowl's second shot? I don't think so, but plenty of room here for Sandra Keith. It'll be interesting to see now what length the Sandra Keith side elect to play.
That may have made it 3, you know.
Sandra Keith has certainly given this more weight. Line running to a clear Hendra bowl, runs that into the head, and that would obviously count, I would say. And it does.
Could be 5.
This is the number.
Weight confirmation here as they take away those 3. And now are the front 2 closer as well? I think they are. So that's 5.
Well, Brendan, that's a poorly played hit.
I think it's 6. I think it's 6. Yeah, well, especially because they chose that length.
Yeah, that was poorly played because there was ample room to be able to draw at least second shot in there. And, you know, Debbie White, as I say, skip, not putting the blame at her feet.
No, it was a 5. It was a 5 confirmation. I thought I saw 6 indicated. So 5 for Sandra Keith. It's now 8-4. Sandra Keith leading Debbie White after 4 of the 18 ends in this women's fours semi-final.
The lesson there really, Brendan, is don't take your, when you're in a full length head and you're down on the head, don't look at the jack as your line to get into the head. You look at to the outside of what's counting, and you know that's where you've got to get to. The bowl will do the rest. The minute you try and draw as the jack as the line, you'll either under green or you'll lose your weight because the bowl's not going to arc, especially on the backhand side of the ring. It's just not going to arc all the way back, and that was a case then of seeing the draw line out where the clear Hendra bowl was, and the bowl would then draw. Once you bring that line in, you can do all sorts of trouble. So good opening bowl here from Taylor Bruce, sitting just lower the jack, leading 8-4 after 4 ends. There's the Sandra Keith side, and they've persisted with a fairly 3/4 length head as we see the bowl of Jocelyn Holton just run by. Tall figure, teacher, school teacher from the Burnside Club in Christchurch. Absolute perfect delivery.
After 3 ends of the other women's semi-final, it is Wendy Green leading Denise West 4-0. After 3 ends, Wendy Green 4-0 over Denise West. We have a couple of men's quarterfinals in progress as well on this green. We'll keep you up to date with them. One of the scoreboards is currently obstructed, but the one closest to us is the Morris Symes Shannon McElroy match, and it's 2 apiece now after 4 of the 18 ends in that quarterfinal. The other quarterfinal in progress is a rematch of the skips from last year's final. Dean Elgar, the defending champion, and Mike Kernahan, and we'll bring you an update of that score shortly.
Of course, Elgar with the same side as last year, and Mike Kernan with a new side.
Yeah, he came over yesterday during commentary and was joking about the fact whether we were going to be broadcasting his match because Dean Elgar was his nemesis.
Certainly was.
From last year.
A good opening here from the Sandra Keith skip side with Taylor Bruce drawing 2 bowls very, very close to the jack. Carol Cox now.
Tell you as well, sorry to interrupt Kevin, that Mike Kernahan is up 7-2 after 3 ends over Dean Elgar. 7-2, Mike Kernahan leading Dean Elgar in that men's fours quarterfinal.
And what Mike Kernahan will be saying is, against Dean Elgar, we're never far enough in front. As we saw in last year's final, we're referring to there was the Dean Elgar side pick up a big number about the second to last, then 15 or 16 in, picked up a really big number after Mike Kernhan held a comfortable lead, and all of a sudden the tables got turned, and Dean Elgar walked away with the national championship. As we see now, Selena Smith change her hand, has to get past the front bowls of the Henuera side. In fact, threads the needle all the way through, but was narrow under the line, but very impressive 2 bowls there from Taylor Bruce. So Carol Cox play on her backhand. Head goes down. I don't know if that's a Joe Edwards sign. Joe Edwards always drops the head at point of delivery. It looks to be a pretty good bowl. As this breaks down towards the head, is it going to get to the... Just went by, did the Carol Cox bowl, but it's certainly on a good line. On the forehand, we'll now see Claire Hendrick from the Silverstring Club in Wellington.
Well, it seems everyone's much more comfortable with this length after the longer end previously.
They certainly weren't comfortable, as you see. Claire Hendrick falls short, way short.
Yeah, short and narrow.
So the call from Debbie White to hit number 3, Bev Corbett. Play down on the backhand. If you get a touch on Carol Cox's blue bowl, you could make a shot of it. So we watched Corbett bowl now, and Debbie White starting to drop down, and it's breaking now towards the head. Gets that touch on the Carol Cox bowl, exactly what they spoke about, Brendan, and sat alongside the jack and will certainly make shot of it. And Hendra she'll follow that on the backhand, trying to get a touch, trail to the jack. Just question note that weight, Brendan. Yes, it's going to fall short of where the scoring opportunity is.
You've got to swap over, mate. Sorry, you can't give it away there. You're playing down to this purple.
So change your hand here by Bev Corbett.
But you move the jack down that way.
So you may have heard there, Debbie White saying if you move the jack on the backhand, you can give the shot away. So on the forehand, we'll see now Bev Corbett trying to reach to what is the Taylor Bruce bowl, which is sitting in fact, would be 3rd shot. And people moving around in behind the head, behind the ditch. So Bev Corbett just walked away for a second on the mat, on the forehand. Of course, just dropping that 5 on the 4th end. They'll certainly be wanting to score again here. If you watch this bowl, Bev Corbett's just going to go under the head on the narrow side. And as Brendan said, immediately, the next game after this, of course, we'll be bringing you is the women's final, the women's fours final. And then later on this afternoon, we'll have the final of the men's fours. 2 quarterfinals underway now. 2 semi-finalists have been found, that being Gary Lawson and Mike Carroll. And they will play at around 12 o'clock. Is that the plan, Brett? I think it's about 12. That semi-final will get underway, plus the semi-finalist, which will be found from the screen out in front of us.
Of course, no time limit for post-section play, so it's all a bit flexible. We don't know exactly what time everything will get underway, but basically there'll be a short break for the players in between each round, as the players interested in this one from Sandra Keith. Not far away from the target. Yeah, just a touch narrow. You can see what she's trying to do. Sit on that shot bowl. And now Bev Corbett and Debbie White try and cook up here.
Well, obviously the shot for Debbie White is exactly the same shot as she called Bev Corbett to play down on the forehand to try and sit on the Taylor Bruce bowl, which is in behind the jack. There's no sense in her trying to play, you'd think, trying to play the backhand, because she was to touch the jack. It's a Taylor Bruce bowl which is sitting just in behind, although there is a Hinuera bowl there, 1 bowl further back.
Yeah, so what Kevin's talking about is there's that purple bolt just past the jack. There's also a Taylor Bruce purple bolt right alongside the shot bowl as well. So it's the second one, the deeper of the two bowls, which Debbie White will try and play to on her forehand side, which is the shot she called for Bev Corbett last time around. Bev Corbett was unfortunately but under the line. I'll see if Debbie White can make the adjustment. Looks like she hasn't got the weight here.
No, certainly lacking weight. So the shot for same shot for Sandra Keith could might herself give herself a yard of weight, because there is, as well as Sandra, a Selena Smith bowl being the deepest bowl on the rink on that backhand side. As we will see, definitely more weight here from Sandra Keith as we're watching the bowl now. Looks as though it's going to get under the line. That need to have a bit of luck, and doesn't.
Pesky Debbie White bowl was there.
Yeah, it was definitely under the line. So Bev Corbett saying to Debbie White, just give yourself 1.5 meters of weight and draw out to my foot. Forget about where the head sits, what she's saying to Debbie. Draw out to my foot and let the bowl draw from there. So it looks as though it's on a fairly good line. Looks not going to have the weight though to get all the way, one wouldn't think.
Oh,
will it?
Slide
Will
into
it?
a pretty good home.
Falls out.
I think there's one indicated there for Debbie White. So back on the board, 5-4. Now Debbie White trailing Sandra Keith. We'll have confirmation of that shortly. But
so it'll be interesting to see now, Brendan, what length the Hinuera side elect to play.
because it could have just been a mistake as well.
Could well have been.
We didn't
Could
see
well
if
have
it
been.
was called for by Debbie White. So then we can see where she's standing here. She is standing further up, so that's where she wants it to be, and it's going to actually come short of that. So it's a much shorter end than what we saw. So I think they've learnt their lesson from from the longer end as far as
go back.
what they like. So confirmation as well that it was 1 to Debbie White on the previous end. So now after 5 of 18, Sandra Keith 8, Debbie White 5. I believe now after 4 ends in the other women's semi-final, it's Wendy Green leading Denise White 4-2. And a couple of men's quarterfinals in progress as well. Morris Symes leading Shannon McElroy 3-2 after 5 of the 18 ends. We also have Dean Alger playing Mike Kernahan. Looks at things after 5 of the 18 ends. It's Mike Kernahan who's leading Dean Alger 8-2. 8-2 Mike Kernahan over Dean Alger, and that's a rematch of the skips from last year's final at 99 Bowling Club in Wellington.
So good opening bowl from Jocelyn Holton, the lead for Debbie White. Very a spectator here this morning by the name of Paul Hunt, and Paul Hunt is a person that Bowls New Zealand owes a great debt of thanks to, because Paul Hunt was the former CEO of what was National Insurance, then became Tower, and Paul and a chap called Phil McCabe were the instigators of getting behind Lawn Bowls, and were the long-time sponsors of the Nationals, and a lot of things to do with Bowls New Zealand, and in their house contents and car cover, and have still got, I think after 27 years, they have still got a partnership with Bowls New Zealand. Paul Hunt recently retired down to this neck of the woods, playing bowls over at the Tauranga Domain, who I happened to see him yesterday, and he's what I would say, as far as bowls is concerned, one of the pioneers of sponsoring bowls here in New Zealand, and now residing here and playing bowls and watching here this morning. So for those who remember the good old days of the lazy hazy days of summer as well, we one of them in sports roundup in those days, and of course Tower or National Insurance at that time of the year with the summer sport, they were one of the big sponsors. So a big thank you for what Paul Hunt has done over many years gone by, especially for bowls, but for a number of sports.
Yeah, so many sports, especially the smaller sports, wouldn't survive without people like that involved, the sponsors, to keep things ticking over.
So here is Selena Smith after 2 very good bowls from the opening by the Hinuera side. Definitely holding the shot. Selena Smith is going to get all the way. Is it going to get past the front bowl? Just ran into what is the shot bowl. Another roll would have certainly had shot, but the Hinuera side definitely holding the shot, as we see Carol Cox now on her backhand. Indication from Debbie White very quickly. It's on a better track, this bowl.
Well, I might have heard a cowbell there. Does that mean there's some Hinuera supporters around, or was it a train?
Well, it's either a train or a move from the Waikato is coming down here with chainsaws and cowbells.
Well, I heard a lot of them, obviously, at bowl 3-5, supporting the Hinuera heat.
Of course, one of those, well, two of those bowls 3-5 commentators with you, Brendan. We actually saw an action here yesterday, and we're only one shot away from still being here this morning.
Oh, exactly. Very much could have been in the quarterfinals. Could have been taken on Shannon McElroy. What a prize that would have been for Simon Poppleton's four. I see Simon Poppleton's here. We might try and grab him for a chat, and otherwise, if John Macbeth and Grant Nisbet have made their way to support today, try and grab them too. It's obviously a long day today, so we'll try and grab a few guests to join us in commentary. There's Simon Poppleton there, centre of screen, talking alongside Mark Cameron to the right, and Chris Lander, who's the tournament director.
So here now is Claire Hendra trying to play up to the Selena Smith bowl, which is second shot, and going to get the bowl clean, runs onto it, made two shots, and made the shot of it. Claire Hendra bowl now sits right on top of the jack, well played with a yard of weight through the head, reaching the shot bowl, making shot of it. So it's going to Bev Corbett, draw down, same on that side. Very, very hard to get to though, well played by the number 3 for Sandra Keith. So Bev Corbett trying hard. This bowl was the call from Debbie White, but just going to go past with that weighted head, just held it up on the wide side. So Claire Hendra now, as we played the 6th of 18 ends. Definitely holding the shot is the Sandra Keith side. And the second bolt of Claire Hendra will just go by, in fact just sit inside that of the Selena Smith bowl.
The skips now make their way to the mat.
Crowd
Claire
starting
Hendra, pink bowl right on the jack.
Crowd starting to sort of arrive here now, Brennan, to see him behind us here. People arriving for what's going to be a great day of bowls.
And if you are in the area, make your way down to Bowls Mount Maunganui, this lovely facility. Weather promises to only get hotter throughout the day. It's very pleasant conditions at the moment.
I just see part of the Settle family arrive, so I know who they're supporting. Just famous. In fact, the Hinuera Bowling Club was donated to them by what was the Settle family. As we watch this bowl of Debbie White run up to that shot bowl and just slice it out of the head. Well played by the Hinuera skip.
Yeah, great bowl that from Debbie White. Very fine margin of error there to try and get rid of that shot bowl. And did exactly that. Jack remains in place. Now Sandra Keith.
Good response here from Sandra Keith, trying to get down to the jack. They're looking at this closely as it gets towards the jack. Gets a touch on the jack all the way back, but could still be unlucky on that because there's a Hinuera bowl sitting in there as well, being the bowler number 2.
Yeah, I think just looking at the thing, the head is Bev Corbett to whether that pink bowl of Claire Hendra is the shot or whether one of the bowls level with the jack or past the jack of the shot. It's obviously hard to tell from these camera angles.
Bev Corbett play on Debbie White. Her backhand was instruction from Bev Corbett. Looking at this bowl now closely as it's coming down towards the head. Has to get past the Claire Hendra bowl And in fact, it's just going to run into it, and that's the indication that that bowl of Claire Hendras, as you rightly said, Brendan, may well be the shot. Sandra Keith in a plate on her forehand, trying to thread the needle through that significant amount of shorter bowls. Seems quite a difficult line to the jack, but don't want to give the shot away. Obviously, they've got the shot, so they're going to play.
Well, if they don't find a way through, they might be able to promote one of their own bowls.
Correct.
But it's on the wide side, so it's not going to change the situation. I believe it is 1 to Sandra Keith. And the scoreboard will be changed momentarily to get confirmation of that. It looked like it was that Claire Hendra bowl, that pink bowl, after Sandra Keith moved the jack, which was shot. Confirmed, so 9-5. Sandra Keith now leading Debbie White after 6 of the 18 ends. So we're a third of the way through this women's fours semi-final here at the Summerset National Fours. And Kevin, we spoke yesterday about breaking the game into segments, and that was the first segment really of the match, the first 6 ends. So it's gone Sandra Keith's way. It'll be very interesting to see how this second segment plays out, because that was the segment where Shannon McElroy took charge against Andrew Kelly, and that was really the winning of that game.
Certainly was, and we spoke about Brendan, the little chat on the green when Tony Grantham and Shannon McElroy had a little quick chat, and no doubt part of that chat was what length we're going to play, where we're comfortable, where do we want the mat, and from then on, we certainly saw the game change.
And
so
it wasn't a similar score to this. I think it was 9-4
9-4
to Andrew Kelly over Shannon McElroy, so you know, it's certainly not out of it. Debbie White, that's for sure. We've seen one big number picked up by Sandra Keith, a 5, and that's really the difference between the two sides at the moment.
That's why, you know, Brendan, it's important that you when you're playing in these games, certainly you play 18 ends, no doubt about that, but it's important now, right, you play the next 6 ends. And it's not, we'll worry about when we get to 18 further on. We've got to let's get these 6 ends, make sure that we're close or got our nose in front at end 12, and we're not 14 or 15 behind, because then you've got, you know, major issues. So the big message here for the Debbie White side is, right, even in score 1, doesn't matter. It's just get in that right spot from those last 6 ends. But 2 very good opening bowls here from Taylor Bruce, the lead for Sandra Keith. As we watch this first bolt, Jocelyn Holton's just going to possibly die on weight, had the good line to get down, but just going to drop under. So now Selena Smith, great chance her to really dominate the head early for the Sandra Keith skip side. On her backhand, North Harbour player, and of course we'll be playing in the North Harbour side in the centre. I believe Selena Smith is playing the singles for North Harbour. Of course, Debbie White will be playing for the Waikato. And I believe Sandra Keith's she's in the Canterbury side, as is Taylor Bruce.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that end of the month at Silverstream.
Yeah, big few days in Wellington. We start that on the Thursday afternoon at 4 o'clock at Silverstream with the North-South game, the second running of the North-South game. New Zealand selectors are here at present, and part of what they're here for is to look at likely candidates for that North-South fixture. As we see the bolt, Carol Cox just drop by the head. So early pressure now been put on by the Sandra Keith side after Keith converted that head. She was down after Debbie White put a superb bowl to dislodge the shot bowl. The big thing here for Selena Smith to get, and she'll be more than happy with that. Well, Sandra Keith, it's gone in behind the head because any movement of the jack was 2 bowls sitting there from Jocelyn Holton. So Carol Cox now will play on her backhand. We play in 7 of 18. Trying to get this bowl to come all the way back to the jack. There's a great attempt here by the number 2, Carol Cox. In fact, it'll make shot of it, sits inside the jack. Very good bowl. Claire Hendra now. follow that backhand line, trying to get to either shot bowl or touch on the jack as the bowl just falls over and sits down in front of the jack. I've heard Sandra Keith saying then, just turn it round the corner for 3.
Yeah, try and trail the jack back to those back bowls that they have in place there.
Just on the wide,
yeah,
wide side.
Certainly.
So you heard Debbie White saying, let's get another bowl there. And we might see Corbett and Fab change your hand. Playing to get down to, it's on a good line, this bowl of Bev Corbett's just going to slightly go past, but it's fine there. What she might have played to get onto the other hand to turn the Taylor Bruce bowl over. Claire Hendry now will try and get the shot bowl, keep the shot bowl or the jack. Sandra Keith was showing some interest in this bowl. Just went by the jack. Certainly a good attempt by Claire Hendry. Just went by.
Oh, great adjustment from Claire Hendry from her previous bowl, which was out wide. Certainly had the weight. So dislodged the jack. Not quite perfect line. Not far away though. Bev Corbett.
Well, certainly got a better line, got a wider line to the jack now as it's breaking on the dead draw weight in towards the Carol Cox bowl. And, well, it's good, but it's bad because there's an opportunity now, of course, for Sandra Keith to change her hand, play down, get the split onto the bowls, and if you come to the back, right to the back down here, there's the deepest bowl is a Selena Smith bowl, and this coming down to play in between the two bowls with a yard of weight.
Yeah, that's what Claire Hendry, I think, was just pointing towards, is that bowl right in the front of Selena Smith's left foot there.
That's your target weight down through there.
Could spurt up the jack towards that bowl. Yeah, as you say, certainly created a target now for Sandra Keith, but she's having a long look at this.
Well, I think what she's
isn't 100% sure.
What she's concerned about is running off and getting the Taylor Bruce bowl out to the side jack level, but I don't think it really worries that much because there's another Taylor Bruce bowl just in behind and a Claire Hendry bowl back in amongst these other Hinuera bowls near the deepest end of the ring. And the biggest thing is for Sandra Keith to play with enough weight that's going to hold the bowl up on that narrower line so they can get the split. Because the jack's only going to go one way, and that's back to where that bowl of Selena Smith's. We'll see what weight the skip Sandra Keith will play, of course, former blackjack. And certainly playing with reaching weight for sure.
Doesn't like it.
Looks to be running on the wide side. It does, but that's certainly the weight. That's the weight to play for sure.
And knew straight away. Now the hand swung her towel. An annoyance, frustration. She wasn't quite able to execute, find her range.
I see Debbie White looking long and hard at the head, but you know the obvious thing is we know what shot that Sandra Keith is going to play. So the logical thing here now for Hinuera skip is to draw to the Selena Smith bowl out to the side of the head. Let's give another bolt on the head because as we've seen so often when you don't know where the jack was really going to go. So, and you certainly don't want to widen the target up for Sandra Keith, who's obviously, now she's played that first bowl with that reaching weight, obviously is going to play with that sort of weight again. Debbie White now, the skip of the Hinuera side, was beaten semi-finalist last year, won the New Zealand singles, of course, in Auckland, and then semi-finalist got beaten by Mandy Boyd in that semi-final at 9-8. As they like this bowl that's coming down towards that bowl that we were talking about, Brendan, that's the exact bowl to draw to, but shouldn't really put Sandra Keith in any change in mind of the shot that she's going to play. 2 down at least. Well, one possibly in a measure. I'm favouring it 2 down. This is on a different line. This bowler, Sandra Keith, is going to hold up long enough. No, it's not. It's going to go underneath their head and just dislodge the bowler Debbie White's and that of Selena Smith. So now we'll see the draw from Debbie White now on her backhand.
Trying to play towards that second Taylor Bruce bowl, the deepest of the Taylor Bruce purple bowls. Try and sit in front of that. Potentially make it 3. Still favour that Taylor Bruce bowl out to the left to be at least the third, if not the second.
Watch this bowler, Debbie White's breaking towards the head. How's the weight? Is it going to get all the way down to the jack line? Very close to it. It might fall out.
Well, it's a fair effort.
Very good effort.
So one's taken away. And now Claire Hendra will see whether it's worthy of a measure for that Taylor Bruce bowl. Just to the left. The bowl right in line with the jack is a Debbie White fours bowl. And then obviously Debbie White's bowl, the last of them out to the right hand side. It's just that Taylor Bruce purple bowl. To the left. Jocelyn Holton will do the honours, will do the measure. But Debbie White's 4. Got a little fight back this from the Hinueta quartet. We mentioned how games broken down into segments. First segment of 6. Splitting the game into thirds. Sandra Keith leading by 4 shots, 9-5. But chance for Debbie White to pick up at least 1. Could potentially beat 2 here.
And of course, on the far rink is the other women's semi-final, that being between Wendy Green and Debbie West, Denise West. Sorry.
Yeah, I think that was 2 signalled there. We'll get confirmation of that when the scoreboard was changed. But certainly, Debbie White scoring there on that 7th end. And confirmation it is 2. So 9-7 now the score after 7 of the 18 ends in this women's 4s semi-final. The other semi-final, as Kevin just mentioned, between Wendy Green and Denise West. I'll give you an update of that score when the scoreboard's slightly clearer of bodies. You've got the men's 4s quarterfinals taking place, the last of the quarterfinals also, and it's Shannon McElroy who is leading Morris Symes 4-3 after 7 of the 18 ends. Also have Mike Kernahan taking on Dean Alger, and it's Mike Kernahan is leading 8-6 after 7 of the 18 ends. 8-6 Mike Kernahan over Dean Alger, which is a rematch of the skips from last year's final. Dean Alger, the defending champion, has brought back the same quartet which won at Nainai, and to do the same here at Bowls Mount Maunganui, but have a pretty big challenge against Mike Kernahan, Lance Pascoe, Calvin Scott and Chad Grant.
That game certainly tightened up, Brendan, hasn't because it was, I think it was about 8-2 or so, was it not?
It was indeed.
Now 8-6, and just as this game, is tightened it up 9-7, as we see this first bowl of Taylor Bruce's break down towards the jack, front touches, it's right on front of it. First bowl of Jocelyn Holton just gone by, and the Waikato contingent arrived. Latest in behind me here, there's a brother of Bev Corbett sitting over here, Nev Risbridge, another one of the Waikato stalwarts in here. So they're here, the Cowbells.
Well, it's not too far for them to travel, is it, compared to some other areas of the country?
Great attempt here from Jocelyn Holton, the lead for Debbie White. Just fell a bowl, jack low. So here's the Taylor Bruce. He's had a great season this year, runner-up in the National 4s. Reselection, of course, in the Blackjacks for the World Bowls, and winner of the Canterbury Pairs and Triples, and certainly informed player from the Canterbury. So watch the second bowl. This is what Sandra Keith wants, right in behind the jack. It's a sort of lead in that certainly sets up the head well for the Keith side. On the backhand now, will Carol Coxby.
Of course, Taylor Bruce will be playing in that New Zealand 4 as well at the World Bowls Championships on the Gold Coast, late May, early June. along with the pairs with Joe Edwards. So that consistency with the two bowls, very important. And she started pretty impressively, showing her calibre in this match.
Well, we saw, Brendan, you and I, when we were in Australia, on one of the recent international events, might have been the multi-nations event, how important in the women's game, especially those leads, two bowls, the two bowl disciplines are, that you get a good start, because it's certainly against high quality fields, if the lead's not sort of delivering, a good build up to the head for you, you certainly, you're going to struggle. And so this is, I know this is not the World Championships at all, but a very, very good start here, and a good bowl here from Selena Smith as well. It's going to sit on the Taylor Bruce bowl. The pressure very, very quickly now on this particular head on the Debbie White side.
Yeah, no doubt those selectors would like to see their top players delivering in these kind of games.
Absolutely.
Semi-finals and finals
Absolutely.
of national championships. They are the games you look at a bit more closely to see how the players react in certain situations.
Well, I think if we look at the men now, we've got Mike Kernahan and Shannon McElroy, of course, who are going to be in that Blackjacks World Bowl. So we saw Andrew Kelly playing here yesterday. So there's three of that five.
Gary Lawson.
And Gary Lawson still to play today. So that's four of that five who are here and have all, they've all gone well. So you're right. That's what the New Zealand selectors are looking for, as you watch this bowl of Selena Smith going to just sit in behind the jack, and won't count, but certainly a very good head here for the Waikato, the Keith side.
And the only two women from that Blackjacks World Championship squad who are here are both made it through the semi-finals, Debbie White and Taylor Bruce. So it's
can't ask for more, can you?
Oh, exactly. It's what you expect of your Blackjacks players, to go deep at the Nationals, and that's certainly been the case here in Bay of Plenty.
Good bowl here from Bev Corbett. Is it going to get to the jack? Sits, in fact, on the bowl and behind the head. And now just certainly be the one shot. That first bowl to Taylor Bruce is sitting right in front of the jack. Will be shot. Claire Hendra will play on her backhand.
Yeah, and the way the angle is, I actually think that Bev Corbett bowl is not that far away from the shot as well. Certainly the camera angle makes it look like it's on the bowl, but I think there's actually a bit more space between it than the camera suggests. As that one comes under the head from Claire Hendra.
Well, looking here, Bren, you're right, because you can see it is a different angle, of course.
Yeah, our commentary position is side on, so we're able to see another angle. I think you do favour the Taylor Bruce shot, but it's not actually as close as...
Well, this is closer. This bowl here, Bev Corbett, so if it sits underneath it, it falls in, but that falls the other way.
Two great bowls, though,
Two
by
superb
Bev Corbett.
bowls. And it is close. It's closer than what it looks on the monitor, definitely. Looking through the binoculars, it's definitely closer than what it...
Claire Hendra trying to reply to those two great bowls from her opposite. And Bev Corbett. This one looks a much better line, but has it got the weight?
Just dropping into the head now, just going to fall a bowl.
Oh, that's a great bowl as well.
Just a jack low near the... For Debbie White, the shot for Debbie White is, not there, Bev, the shot for Debbie White is to now play, to follow the Claire Hendra bowl, because if it was to get the inside of the Claire Hendra bowl, got a chance, just on the draw, it's got a chance of moving the jack slightly, and we've got two bowls sitting right in behind there, those being the Bev Corbett bowls. And playing the other shot just is harder, because the bowl with the most likely line to the jack is actually a Selena Smith bowl sitting, which is the third bowl out in that line. But they see it from a different angle, obviously, than what we see on the monitor here. So we'll see what Debbie White.
So far, it's been very high quality in Kevin, arguably the highest quality of the match so far. Number of bowls in and around the jack.
You always play, Brennan, to where the most number of bowls sit around the head, that's just going to give you a scoring opportunity. So it's a one bowl target on one side, and it's a two bowl target on the other side. And Debbie White rightly has elected to play that backhand shot where there is the Claire Hendra bowl to work off, get a touch on it, And there is 2 Bev Corbett bowls sitting just in behind the jack. It's on its way. Doesn't like it. Turned it back straight away on that. Did Debbie White, and that is...
It's a telltale sign, and you see the result of that as the sun starts to really pour in.
It's arriving. It's arriving quick, and I think there's going to be plenty of it, Brenton.
Yeah, I think it might be a pretty warm day here.
10 to 10, and I'm picking we're going to have a pretty warm day here. Good crowd in arriving in here at the Mount Maunganui, and I'm sure by the time we get to those other matches this afternoon, we'll have a big house here at this wonderful venue here. Absolutely top of the draw. It's as good as anywhere you'll get anywhere around, both in Australia and New Zealand. This multi-sports complex here with the club out behind us here. You know, it's a fantastic setup.
Yeah, just reminding you as well that we do have 2 more games we'll be broadcasting for you. After this, we will have the women's fours final here at Bowls Mount Maunganui, to be followed by the men's fours final.
Sandra Keith just going to drop under the head. So here now, Debbie White needs to correct.
So around midday, we'll have the women's fours final. Approximately 3:30, the men's fours final.
Big thing for Debbie White here is take your line out to the Claire Hendra bowl, not inside it. And unfortunately, it's going to come inside it. The line was certainly to play to the pink bowl, not the line to the jack. Play out to that pink bowl and let the bowl do its work. So we'll see now. Definitely 1 to the Keith side. And Sandra Keith will play on her backhand. Taylor Bruce bowl holding the shot. Pretty tight head. Playing to the Claire Hendra bowl. It's going to be short.
Yeah. No, it's not going to add to the count. So knock away 1, and now there's going to have maybe a measure for second shot here. Has that Claire Hendra bowl done enough to make it 2? Claire Hendra herself doing the honours. She measures to her bowl first. Now she'll go to the Carol, or maybe it's a Jocelyn Holton bowl short there. I believe it is just the 1. We'll wait confirmation on the board. Certainly, it's Sandra Keith who scored there. As Taylor Bruce quick to grab the mat and roll the jack down the rink for the 9th end.
3/4 length head. Playing away from the port end here, and just wait for Debbie White to move. Check that scoreboard. I thought I heard the word 2 mentioned. We'll just confirm that. Ten-7. Scoreboard's all been updated. 10-7 now.
So indeed it was just the 1. After 8 now of the 18 ends. We have the other women's fours semi-final ongoing as well. That one between Wendy Green and Denise West. And I believe it is Wendy Green who is leading 5-3 after 6 of the 18 ends. We also have 2 men's quarterfinals ongoing. Mike Kernahan still 8-6 over Dean Alger. And Morris Sims now leading. Symes now leading Shannon McElroy 5-4 after 8 of the 18 ends, and that quarterfinal for the men.
So here comes the second bowl of Taylor Bruce's. Very, very good bowl, sitting virtually jack level, just sitting out from the jack. Good opening, 2 good bowls. She's been pretty consistent, has the Burnside lead here for Sandra Keith this morning. Now we're going to start to see now, Brendan, this green now will start to quicken up. It will, now with the sun coming out, we're going to see, I'd say, at least a second of increase in green speed over the next hour.
And the sunglasses and the hats are all on now as well, because the players playing from the port end are playing right into the sun.
So here is now Claire Smith on her forehand. Looks as though it's going to die short of weight, and it is. Good crowd, as we said earlier, arriving in here. We're certainly going to see, as well as the women's final being played here next. At the same time, of course, we'll have the men's semi-finals will be played. Gary Lawson up against Mike Carroll, two very, very good friends, in fact, up against one another. And it's good to see in that Mike Carroll's side, another one of the great supporters of our game is Mike Carroll, and two of the brothers in his side, John and Stephen Bryan. They sponsor a lot of events, a lot of players, in fact, as well, in the Wellington region, and have been part of the UBC as well, the Hornets, the Wellington Hornets. They've had an involvement in that as well. And of course also in that side is the young boy that played in the Bowls 3-5.
Yeah, James Cameron Powell.
James Cameron Powell, who'll be in that side as well.
Yeah, just 18 years of age.
As well, if you look at the Gary Lawson side as well, you've got Caleb Hope, Sheldon Bagley-Howley, youngsters. Jamie Hill's only in his early 30s as well. And so that semi-final will follow this as well.
I think Jamie will like being added amongst all the youngsters.
He'll
appreciate that.
He does. As we see, Carol Cox Bowl just goes to get past to get the shot, ran into the Hinuera Bowl. So Claire Hendra saying to Sandra Keith, saying to Claire Hendra on that forehand side, just draw handy. And it's definitely the Taylor Bruce Bowl holding the shot with 10-7 lead to the Sandra Keith skip side. And this bowler, Claire Hendra's certainly going to be shy of weight. I have been impressed to date, though, in this game, Brenton, of virtually every end, the start that Taylor Bruce is getting underway for the Sandra Keith sides. He's more than likely been, I would say, the most consistent of the players with her line and weight so far.
The purple bowls have always been pretty handy to
Yes,
the
they
head.
have.
We've talked about the purple bowls time and time again, haven't we?
Yeah, they've been in and around the head virtually end after end, and that's, to tribute to Taylor Bruce is certainly giving her skip, Sandra Keith, in most examples, giving her a good start on the head. As we see Bev Corbett now breaking down towards the head on that backhand side, just going to go past, and as Brenton remarked a few moments ago, you can see now at that eastern end of the green, the sun's really, it's the western end of the green, sorry, the sun's really out, and they're playing right into the sun now. And we're certainly going to have warm afternoon here.
And you can see the shadows that the players are leaving as well, how the sun is right behind them or just tucks behind a cloud just as we speak. But yeah, certainly something for the players to deal with. And I'm going to have the opposite happening this evening.
Yes, we
are.
are.
They're going to be looking right into that sun in the men's fours final, which will get underway around 3:30. Full day of bowls we're bringing to you here on Sky Sport Next. Hope you are enjoying our coverage wherever you may be.
Here's the Bev Corbett bowl, going to run in on the narrow side.
We'll get a few other voices in as well. You'll no doubt get sick of myself, Brenton Vanessa-Roy and Kevin Hicklin's sound of us over the day, so we'll bring in a few others to chat to as well.
And here come the Hinuera boys. Settles and Bruce Milne was part of the Bowls 3-5 side. Stewie Settle, Bruce Milne, they've arrived. Cheer the sister on. And of course, they're going to be hearing enough of us as well, Brenton, over the next sort of couple of months, aren't they? There's still a lot of bowls to come throughout the remainder of the year.
Yeah, it certainly is, with the, like you say, the North v South National Inter-Centre. We've got the New Zealand Secondary School Championships as well. The Sevens, the Bowls 3-5 National Inter Club as well.
As we watch the Sandra Keith Bowl just drop low the jack, it's interesting, isn't it, Brenton? It was only but a few years ago that people were saying we want to see some live bowls. Well, there's not many days now on Facebook or from what we're doing here with Sky, of course, with Sky Next, where there's not bowls somewhere that people can watch and sit back and enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben and Tamara here doing a wonderful job bringing you these pictures.
As we see, Debbie White trying to run down to the bowl of Taylor Bruce's, which is the shot. So Sandra Keith will be endeavouring on that forehand side, trying to get another bowl in on the head, finishing on the opposite side. So if Debbie White does dislodge that bowl, Sandra Keith does have another bowl on the head, but that too is going to run on the short side. And it well runs into the front bowl. So here's Debbie White. So another 1-2. The Sandra Keith skip side. And the scoreboard's now, the ends are now right on the scoreboard. It is 9 ends. We're at the halfway mark. And 11-7 now. 11-7 the Sandra Keith skip side with Claire Hendra, Selena Smith and Taylor Bruce. Over Jocelyn Holton, Carol Cox, Bev Corbett and Debbie White from Hinuera. Interesting now, Brendan, we're right back to the 2 metre mark, a big change of length here. Now, as you rightly say, I'm not sure whether that was, planned or it was an error. But to be fair, the way how Taylor Bruce has actually been performing in this game today, and here's another good opening bowl by the skip from the lead for the side, goes about 1.5 metres in behind the jack. That'll good opening bowl from Taylor Bruce. So Jocelyn Holton now playing her first bowl on the 10th end of this women's semi-final. Good opening bowl. It's going to finish jack level, just a wee bit shy of the line. So Taylor Bruce on the forehand. Of course, started the game of bowls after going to the World Championship in 2008 in Burnside and watching Kelsey Cottrell then playing the singles for Australia as a real youngster in the Australian side. And of course Taylor Bruce's parents, well, mother played at Burnside, and that was the start of Taylor Bruce's career. And of course later on, in years later, actually played Kelsey Cottrell in the final of the New Zealand singles. And as Brendan and I know, since then they've played another number of times in the international level as well, and will do again this year, of course, at the World Champ. So very, very committed member of the Burnside club is Taylor Bruce. We see this bowl of Jocelyn Holton just slip by, but again that good start from Taylor Bruce on this, the 10th end, Brendan. It certainly makes it good for Sandra Keith, having that good start end after end.
Getting an armchair ride, isn't she, really, with Taylor Bruce's performances off the front. There's been obviously contributions as well from Selena Smith and Claire Hendra, but certainly majority of the ends, Sandra Keith has been the more comfortable of the two skips. And saying that, there's only 4 shots between them as Selena Smith gets a lovely touch off one of the Debbie White 4 bowls and now fall in for shot.
Yeah, you're 100% correct, Brendan, but I suppose the telling factor is, of course, is that the pressure that it does put on the Hinuera side. And so therefore it's important that if the front's not sort of getting where they need to be for the Hinuera side, that the damage is not too hard on them, because we spoke before about those ends between 6 to 12, and this is sort of where we start to make sure that break's not too significant.
Well, we have our first guest of the day, Garrick Hamlin, Secretary Manager of Bowls Mount Maunganui, is about to join us in commentary. Subbing out is Kevin Hicklin. Thank you very much, Kevin, just to try and give everyone a break. What will be a long day here, finals day of these Summerset National Fours. As we continue our call of the Women's Fours semi-final, Sandra Keith and Debbie White. It's a very good morning to Garrick joining us.
Morning.
And commentary from Bowls Mount Maunganui, as I said, the Secretary Manager, and Garrick for your club to be hosting the Summerset Nationals. What does it mean for Bowls Mount Maunganui?
Absolutely tremendous. When the opportunity arose, we absolutely jumped at it. We think we've got a marvellous facility here that just purpose-made almost for an event like this.
Well, tell the audience a bit about it. How long have you been at this location? And obviously you've got not just bowls, but there's also croquet as well, and petanque.
And petanque, yep. So yeah, I mean this is the first of big events in this arena. That I think in April we've got a New Zealand Petanque Championship, and early next year there's a croquet golf world championship. Yeah, plenty going. We've been here since 2010, and the bowling part was a merger of Mount Maunganui Bowling Club and the Cosmopolitan Bowling Club.
Yeah, it's obviously a marvellous facility, and if you are in the area, make sure you do visit. I'm sure all visitors are welcome. Yeah. And you couldn't have asked much better weather as well, Garrick, over the last 4 days.
I mean, there's tons of things for people to do here, you know, surf, sea and sand, and plenty of accommodation. So, no, great place to come to.
I take it all the members have relished the opportunity to help out as well over the 4 days?
We've had a good crew working here from about 7 o'clock in the morning till about 8 o'clock at night. Fairly long days, but again, we're all getting a lot of fun out of it and enjoying it. So, and we hope it's not too long before we get the chance to run this event again. So,
yes, certainly we'll be looking forward to putting your hands up, no doubt, for national singles and pairs in the future. Yeah,
we just wonder whether there's enough greens in this area, perhaps, for the singles. But if the opportunity arose, I'm sure we'd take it on.
Yeah, no doubt, because you weren't aware. Throughout the Bay of Plenty, isn't it? Rotorua has been hosting games as well.
Yeah, there's been three clubs down there. Yep.
Yeah, so it's been very much a whole Bay of Plenty production.
It has.
But the focus been here. The HQ, Bowls Mount Maunganui. Like I say, if you are in the area, or you do visit, make sure you get your way down here.
There's plenty of parking. So,
you've been able to actually watch much of the bowls, or has it been all the behind-the-scenes work, Garrick?
I've been working in the chart room in the first 3 days, but no, there's plenty of time in between results coming in to have a good look around. And never too late to learn.
Absolutely. It's incredible how much you can pick up from some of the very best in the country. There's no doubt about that. We've got a number of them on show here, of course. Sandra Keith, Selena Smith, Taylor Bruce, all having played for New Zealand. Debbie White, a new member of the Blackjacks, we'll be seeing at the World Championships.
Yes. Yeah.
And you've been happy with how the greens have been running and everything?
Quite pleased. Yep.
So everything...
Been a lot of work going to those too. I mean, early on in the season we were thinking they're not too good, but a lot of hard work, and I think we've got them going pretty well.
Any special, I suppose, praise for any of the greenkeeper or anything like that?
Yeah, I think he might get a nice little reward.
Yeah, certainly. I think the players have enjoyed playing on them by what I've heard of the last few days. There's a good area here is Sandra Keith. It's just going to slide by, gets a touch on the jack. Very good effort from the skip. Now Debbie White and Bev Corbett just going to look over things. It's good to see we've got by the looks of it, Garrick, a good little contingent coming over from the Waikato as well to support the Inuit as well.
I think Mark Cameron mentioned yesterday this is probably the biggest crowd he's seen at a bowls event like this, so that's quite heartening.
Yeah, well, certainly only build, I think, as the day goes on, once we get to the finals.
It certainly will.
As well, which is great to see. And There's still some space available though, so free entry, of course.
Yes, no charge.
And there's some pretty good food on offer as well,
There
Gareth.
is.
Yeah, look forward to it.
No, they've been working hard in the main club.
That's the thing. It's a big production, isn't it? Hosting just all the players, let alone all the supporters
spectators
that come as well. Debbie White.
As I say, the facilities tailor-made really when you've got the main club with its bar and restaurant facilities.
Exactly, you've got the artificial green as well behind us. Yep. Our commentary position here. This one's just going to be narrow and under the head from Debbie White.
The artificial green's a great asset for the club. We have community bowls on Tuesday nights, so we have 3 greens full, introducing people to the game.
How many members do you have? Do you know?
We're about 170. Yeah.
Okay. And that's been steadily growing. It's a lovely bowl by Sandra Keith.
Over the 10 years, it's slid a bit, but more recently, no, we're holding pretty steady. So.
That's good to hear.
Well, we have a big corporate bowls program too. Corporate functions, hen parties, family outings.
And after that bowl from Sandra Keith, Debbie White, can she respond? Playing again on that backhand side. Looking to try and come inside that Sandra Keith bowl. Touch on the wide side, but they're interested as Bev Corbett just trying to urge it on. It's just going to sit in behind. In fact, that will grab the shot. Slightly obstructed there by Bev Corbett in front of Canberra, but what a bowl that was from Debbie White to pick up the shot for her 4. Thank you very much, Garrick, for joining us in commentary. I'm sure you've probably got some official business to attend to.
Watch a bit more bowls, I hope. Better work later on.
Absolutely. Garrick Hamlin, really appreciate his time as Secretary Manager of Bowls Mount Maunganui, of the host club of these Summerset National Fours. Just confirming, Debbie White picking up the shot from that wonderful final bowl after Sandra Keith laid down the gauntlet, and Debbie White responded. So 11-8 now after 10 of the 18 ends in this women's fours semi-final. And the other semi-final between Wendy Green and Denise West will bring you up to date with the score of that one shortly. It's a very tight affair in one of the men's quarterfinals. Morris Symes leading Shannon McElroy 6-5 after 10 of the 18 ends in that quarterfinal. Also have Mike Kernahan taking on Dean Alger. A few players around the scoreboards at the moment, so unable to access that score, but we'll have it for you shortly. Of course, we already know one of the men's fours semi-finalists. Mike Carroll taking on Gary Lawson, the 13-time national champion, as Taylor Bruce again on the money. Purple bowl. Just beyond the jack. Now Jocelyn Holton looking to respond, and this is a great reply. A toucher, normally received by the crowd here at Bowls Mount Maunganui as well. Grabbing the shot back for Debbie White. Spray goes on to mark that as a toucher. Those of you new to bowls, of course, that's to distinguish it from the rest, because if it goes in the ditch, it's still live, whereas other bowls, non-touchers, if they make their way into the ditch, they are non-counting. There's Taylor Bruce this time, just past the head after a good first up bowl. Now Carol Cox on the mat for Debbie White's 4, as we welcome in our second guest of the day, Sharon Sims. Good morning, Sharon. Former Blackjack, of course, now Blackjack's coach, and played here at the Summerset National Fours, round of 16, along with Gail Melrose, former fellow coach. Peers partner, of course. I think she's dubbed you the round of 16 girls.
We are. We're going to have to just try and improve on that next time, aren't we?
Well, it's great to have you joining us, Sharon, and you must relish the chance to still be playing amongst your charges as well.
It is. It's great to be out on the green again. Really, really enjoying it, and you get a different perspective. It's good to just see how some of our talented players, handle different situations, and it's great. Yeah.
Well, certainly when you've got a couple of them on show in this very match, who you're going to be with at the World Bowls Championships on the Gold Coast in late May, early June. Debbie White, picture there on screen, who's a new Blackjack, and Taylor Bruce, who, of course, back in the Blackjacks, who's going to be playing with Joe Edwards in the pair, and I suppose for you as well with the four.
That's right.
Playing there. What are you looking for her in these kind of matches? Are they important? You see your Blackjack players performing at the national champs?
Oh yeah, I think there's you like to see how players perform under a little bit of pressure, and so a semi-final here with a good crowd watching, and that's a touch of what it might be like. So yeah, good to see how they handle that.
And obviously with Joe Edwards, Val Smith, Caitlin Inch all over in Australia, the two female Blackjacks members of that World Championship squad, to make it to the semi-finals. I suppose it does help with it, justify those selections somewhat as well.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, not my job these days, thankfully, but yes. And in fact, in the last a little while, singles and pairs were the same. I think the entire high performance team was very happy with how all of our players went, and it was good to see a high number of them in the pointy end of all the events. So it's great.
Bev Corbett playing on the backhand side for Debbie White's four. This one's just going to come past the head, find a decent home though. And Debbie White, you're looking forward to having her amongst your triple and your four?
I am. I think she brings that something, a little bit of maturity and a little bit of mongrel, shall I say. I think that's going to add to the dynamic. I think she's a never say die sort of player, and that's going to be useful, I think.
Yeah, and seem just from the times I've watched her as well, it seems very team kind of player as well, about that whole team first and everything.
Absolutely.
And knowing that she's just a cog, I suppose, in the whole environment.
Absolutely. I know she's absolutely delighted to be there, and she's working very hard already, and she's determined to give it a best crack.
Oh, not far away again. Bev Corbett just running past that wide bowl, looking to try and sit on that trail towards the jack, and maybe even knock away the Taylor Bruce bowl, the purple bowl, which is just to the right of the jack. Now Claire Hendra looking to attack here. Is it just going to come under the line? No, it's going to knock away the shot bowl. Well executed, Claire Hendra. And it's great to see applause from both teams as well for good bowls. So now two bowls for Sandra Keith just to the right of the jack. The Claire Hendra bowl, which knocked away the shot bowl of Debbie White's four, and that Taylor Bruce bowl. A good crowd in attendance, isn't there?
It is. Pretty hard to find a car park.
That's a good thing to be talking about, isn't it, when you get to the final day of national championships? Did you get to play any of the fours here that made it through to the semi-finals, Sharon?
Yeah, and in section play we played Denise West and with Paris Baker in them. And yeah, actually got the better of them in section play, but we also got the better of the team that beat us yesterday in section play.
Oh yeah, Sharon Sims's four was one of only, I think, four women's quartets that were unbeaten in section play. unfortunately, out in the round of 16. Here we see, we'll bring you a score shortly once we get a bit of movement away from the scoreboards. Denise West, Newlands 4 against Windy Green's Composite 4. So Debbie White wasn't far away. The previous one trying to dislodge those shot bowls. Sandra Keith, former blackjack, of course. The very best players on show for us here at these Summerset Nationals. This one looks like another great bowl.
Yeah, she's a superb draw bowler, Sandra.
So a bit of work to do now for Deb White. So she's just step forward to the mat to have a bit of a chat with Bev Corbett. Just discussing their options here. What would you be thinking standing on the mat, Sharon, looking at that head?
No, she's probably only got a one bowl target if she's going quick, so she's probably, I don't know, it looks like she's playing down the back end, which is interesting. They may know things about the rink that we don't know.
Well, certainly as well when you're looking on the screen, it's slightly deceiving, yes, what it looks like when
right.
Actually the players can see as well. This one looks on the wide side. It's going to come round back. So now, I think certainly holding 3 here. Sandra Keith playing the last of this 11th end. Just trying to add to the count. Playing on the forehand side. Selena Smith, Claire Hendra, now Taylor Bruce all interested. Is he just going to sit inside that wide bowl, which is the closest of Debbie White's bowls? Don't think so. They'll take away 2. So maybe that first Sandra Keith bowl not quite counting. There's going to be a measure here. Claire Hendra will do the honours, so it's at least 2 for Sandra Keith. Just the question is it 3? So she's going to the wide bowl of White's 4 to start with. She's going to go to the 2 Sandra Keith bowls. Yeah, I think it is 3. So, big end again for Sandra Keith. Gives them a bit more breathing space in this semi-final here at Bowls Mount Maunganui. So just waiting for the scoreboard to be flicked over. I'm pretty sure it was 3, and that will be 14-8. Now leading Debbie White. And we've got the 2 others, or 1 other women's semi-final and the 2 men's quarterfinals. And it looks like 12-6 Wendy Green now leading Denise West after 9 of the 18 ends in that semi-final. And also have Mike Kernahan leading Dean Alger, the defending champion. 14-6 now the score after 9 of the 18 ends. Make that now 16-6 after 10 ends. So the defending champion in the quarterfinal in a bit of strife. And Shannon McElroy is leading 7-6 over Morris Symes after 11 of the 18 ends. Those 2 men's matches are quarterfinals, of course. They're a round behind the women. We've got 1 semi-final confirmed. Gary Lawson taking on Mike Carroll. Just working out what the other semi-final will be. And that'll be played at the same time as we're broadcasting the women's 4s final for you. And Sandra Keith leading 14-8 after 11 of the 18 ends. As the sun pours in again. Sharon,
it's been
pretty hot, isn't it?
Yeah, the weather has been amazing. The first couple of days were certainly very, very warm.
And they're long days, aren't they? When we're playing
Yes,
three games a day. You know, obviously there's a time limit for section play, but no time limit for post-section play. You're on the green for 9 hours plus.
Yeah, no, it was wearying. That first day, we were at Te Puke. Beautiful greens, but down in a bit of a basin, and the breeze was just going straight over the top. Yeah, it was. You were ready for a cold drink and a shower when you got home that night. That's for sure.
Yeah, much more pleasant conditions to start with today. Well, the sun is pouring in. It's certainly in the early 20s. and barely a zephyr of breeze, although the flag just starting to move for the first time really today. The wind does pick up seemingly in the afternoon, Sharon. Has it had an impact on games later on?
Oh, well, now I'm from the Manawatu too, so this isn't
This isn't wind.
This isn't wind. No. So it hasn't been enough to really affect the bowls. Just maybe just needed to be aware sometimes a little bit uphill, downhill with the breeze, but certainly not blowing them off course or anything like that.
And Kevin and I in commentary talking about you break the game in segments. Do you do that when you're playing or when you're coaching? Or, segments maybe when you're 18 ends or of 6, because we saw in the men's match particularly yesterday that the first 6 went to Andrew Kelly, but then the second 6 went convincingly to Shannon McElroy, and that really, the game really changed in that period. And we saw this situation. I think Sandra Keith was leading 9-5 and the first 6, and then Sandra Keith is getting the better of Debbie White in the second segment.
It's certainly something to be aware of, and it's something that happens quite frequently. People get off to a good start. Sometimes players are often aware that they themselves will start well and then have a bit of a lull. So resetting after a set of 6 or a set of 5 or something is a really good idea. Just come together as a team, reset, whether you're in front or behind. Just have a think about what's happening. And certainly, those before the last 5 ends, I always think good teams play the last 5 ends well, and just really.
Yeah, I think we certainly saw it, certainly on the mind of Shannon McElroy, because after that first 6 ends of their match against Andrew Kelly, he had a chat with Tony Grantham. They decided what lengths they were going to play, and from that moment, the game just changed.
Right. Yes, that's his experience.
Yeah. Well, we know that he does a lot of work mentally as well, and on the mental side of things.
Absolutely.
Something he prides himself on.
Yeah.
How much more has that come into the game? Obviously, John Quinn works with the Blackjacks now. Has it become more of a thing, the mental skills?
It's become more accepted by the players, is it? I mean, I've been a huge believer in utilised mental skills coaches all my career, but sometimes that was sort of looked on as being a bit odd.
Yes.
Whereas now I think the players are much more accepting of it, and understand. And Quinny's been wonderful. He speaks their language, and the players really relate to him really well.
There's a great bowl from Claire Hendrick, just goes past the head. There's Bev Corbett looking to respond. It's 12th end of 18. Semi-final action. Bringing to you, we have the final to follow from around midday. Then the men's final to follow that from approximately 3:30. You'll be staying here throughout the day, watching?
Yes. Lots of players that I'm particularly interested in watching, but all of the, I mean, fortunately, I love watching bowls, so it's all good.
Well, talk about how I suppose it works, because obviously when you get all the players together, you're the rank coach there, but all the national coaches have their group of players, both men and women, that
That's
they look
right.
after?
Yes. So there's 8 of us, and we have we each have a mix of men and women, and a mix of talent development players and high performance players, and we look after those. Some of the coaches are lucky enough to have them in their area. All mine are remote, so it's sort of just keeping in touch. Almost acting more as a mentor than a coach, and making sure that they've got someone locally looking after them and things like that. And then when we're away, I would be rink coaching that particular 4. And one of the good things we've done this year is, as soon as the team's announced, we'll start meeting over Zoom, video conference calls with the team, so that we'll start a bit of our team building work before we get there. We're not just waiting till we get there, so we'll be starting that very soon.
And you're going to be having a camp as well before the World Champs, I believe, in April. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. Training camp, I think the 3rd to the 7th of April. So it'll be good to get everyone together and hopefully get a bit of match play. And just especially since we've got, in fours a new combination, so some match play there will be. And the men haven't played that exact combination, I don't think. So match play is going to be important just to tweak those things.
Absolutely. Well, we'll let you actually just be a spectator, Sharon. Thank you very much for joining us, though, and commentary. Really appreciate all your expertise.
My pleasure.
Sharon Sims, of course, great blackjack player, now blackjack's coach as well, joining us in commentary here on the final day of these Summerset National Fours. As bowl coming in on the backhand side from Debbie White. Doesn't quite get as much of a favourable touch as she's probably looking for off that short Taylor Bruce bowl. Trying to add another to the count. I think you favour the bowl just behind the head, certainly from our camera angle anyway, as Kevin Hicklin rejoins us in commentary.
So the indication is that it's actually Sandra Keith who's holding the one shot.
Okay.
And what Sandra Keith is here looking at now could be a game-breaking shot, because the shot there to take the second shot bowl through the head, and that would leave the Keith side holding at least 5 with a bowl to be played, of course. So you can see on the monitor, you can see the bowl of Claire Hendrick, which looks to be shot, and it's the bowl in behind there. Bev Corbett bowl, is it? That's there. And then you've got the next 1, 2, 3, 4. All happen to be the Sandra Keith bowls. And at this stage of the game, in 12, coming to the end of the second set of 6, I believe Sharon Sims agrees with my philosophy about.
Well, she's talking about how it's a very good idea to try and reset after each little segment, especially going into the last 5 or 6, whether it be a 15-end game or an 18-end game.
So it's going to be under the head, the Sandra Keith bowl.
You can see, though, playing with that weight, as you say, to try and attack that blue bowl. Debbie White will have the final say on this end, though.
Certainly got the chance here, Debbie White, to play to the bowl. Just won't want to attack it too quickly and lose her own bowl out of the head, but a turn on the Claire Hendrick bowl could end in a good result for the Hinuera skip.
So what bowl are we saying that's holding shot at the moment? Obviously, from our camera angle, it looks like the blue bowl is holding shot, but are we saying the Claire Hendrick bowl's closer?
Well, that's the indication that was given to me when I was standing just out here, but I may have, you'll see what the weight, I suppose, what Debbie White plays would give us an indication was it looks to be on the draw on the backhand. It was Bev Corbett that said that we were the one down.
And obviously this shows that the camera angle is just coming off the mat. Debbie White as Dean Elgett makes his way, I think, for a bit of a toilet break, playing in the men's fours quarter final. Just a couple of rinks away.
So Debbie White on the back end, trailing 14-8 as we come to the end of the 12th of 18 ends. Staying down, looking at this. How's the line now on the wide side? Is it going to just certainly head White? Claire Hendrick straight away puts the hand up.
That confirms it. So one more to Sandra Keith, now 15-8 after 12 of the 18 ends, and we've been talking about breaking the game into segments. Kevin, I believe it was 9-5 after.
Yes.
At first, so what, 6-3 in the second segment, both to Sandra Keith.
Well,
Debbie White, though, not out of the contest yet.
No, definitely not out of it. But the telling point is what Taylor Bruce is doing end after end at the start. That's the big telling point, because it's giving Sandra Keith the opportunity to have effective bowls on the head from bowl 1, and hasn't had very many ineffective bowls in and around, like short bowls, etc. So it actually is giving her a strong position on the head, and it also means that Debbie White so often now is trying to draw the shot with her last bowl. And there we see Taylor Bruce straight away draws close in behind the jack. So it's not as though we're seeing Debbie White is actually adding to the head. She's actually trying to get the shot, and there's a big difference when you're doing this end after end. Certainly on the 10th end, when they're playing away from us here, they were down a number, the Hinuera side, and Debbie White drew the shot. But it's all about what Taylor Bruce is doing off the front. That's, to me, is the difference in this game.
Oh, not far away there was Jocelyn Holton looking to sit on that Taylor Bruce bowl. It slides past.
On the backhand is Taylor Bruce. She's got that line down to a T now. She knows exactly, and here's the clap straight away from Sandra Keith, knowing that Taylor Bruce is going to deliver yet again, and she is on a perfect line right down to the jack. And you can see when Taylor Bruce stands on the mat, at the point of delivery, you can see she knows where her line is, and she's getting the bowl on that backhand side out to that line on the arc, and of course it will draw back all the time to the jack, and that's what she's doing. End after end after end, and that just gives you such a great start.
Oh, it makes it so much more difficult for Debbie White. With Taylor Bruce just so consistent off the front. Jocelyn Holden hasn't been bad off the front.
No, she hasn't. But
just every time, it's just 2 bowls around the head pretty much. Nearly every time for Taylor Bruce.
But, reality is, Brendan, saying that is... one should expect this sort of performance from Taylor Bruce. She is the lead for the New Zealand side in the fours and lead in the pairs for the Blackjacks in the coming World Championships. And that's why the selectors have picked her, because of what they think that she can deliver with that of her first 2 bowls. And she's doing that here. This is a good platform to do it on. It gives her confidence, and and really, both her and Selena Smith, who was narrowly missed out on the side, it's about their consistency and effective bowls on the head, and that's the big thing. And we see now 3 bowls have been played in this particular head, and Debbie White straight away is under the pump because she hasn't got really one effective bowl in on the head, whereas Sandra Keith has really got 3 effective bowls in on the head, and that just makes such a big difference.
Selena Smith sticking with the backhand here. Hope to try and just draw around that short bowl of the Hinuera quartet.
It's on a good line, this bowl, getting past the front bowl, and this will count as well, sitting just lower the jack, but certainly in a counting position. And as Brendan said, we've got the other women's semi-final over on the other rink, that between Wendy Green and Denise West, and the other 2 men's quarterfinals, Mike Kernan playing the defending champion Dean Elgar.
And obviously with it being fours, there's lots of bodies around scoreboards at the
Sure
moment,
is.
so bear with us as we endeavour to, creak our head round corners to try and find the other scoreboards as well. And hopefully we'll have a bit of movement shortly, but I think I saw a glimpse of the scoreboard suggesting that Wendy Green was up 13-6 over Denise West. Couldn't see the number of ends. Obviously we've got the 2 men's quarterfinals, Mike Kernan against Dean Elgar, Morris Symes against Shannon McElroy.
So here's Claire Hendra now. Going to add to the head, getting past the front bowl. She does, and draws the shot itself. Fidji right on the jack. Big pressure now, front toucher, and 4 bowls in and around. So Debbie White indicating to Bev Corbett, let's get straight into that. We're in trouble, and they are in trouble.
13-6, I can confirm the score. Wendy Green leading Denise West. Wendy Green leading Denise West 13-6 after 10 of the 18 ends. So there are a couple of ends behind our match here. Our women's fours semi-final.
Well, this is now turning into a very, very big end, this particular end in front of us, Brendan. This 13th end, 15-8, the score to Sandra Keith, holding.
Oh, when we talk about segments, there's no more important segments than the final one.
This is it. This is and holding 5 at this point in time. And the Hinuera side only with, in fact, 2 bowls on the green. And I'm sure we'll see the Sandra Keith side just continue to pile the pressure on, and they'll be quite happy with that bowler, Claire Hendricks, going in behind their head. And now Debbie White saying, right, to Bev Corbett, try and draw a second shot on the backhand. Let's try and minimise the damage.
Shannon McRoy leading Morris Symes 10-6 after 13 of the 18 ends in that men's fours quarter final.
And of course, the winner of that match will play the winner of the Kernahan Elgar game, which is in progress as well, as we see that Bev Corbett bowl go by. Big pressure now, Brenda. 2 bowls for Debbie White. She's 5 down on the head, 15-8 down on the scoreboard. This is where the rubber hits the road in a big way. My option here for her is to endeavour to get second shot. Debbie White, don't try any heroics here, just try and get second shot.
And the pressure's relentless, isn't it, from Sandra Keith 4, especially off the front, led by Taylor Bruce. 16-8, Mike Kernahan leading Dean Elgar after, I believe, 10 of the 18 ends.
So here's the first bowl of Sandra Keith on this, the 13th end. It's going to sit out on the wider side, over the head slightly. So here now, Debbie White having a look to see where the wind is. Well, there's really no wind on the backhand, the best drawing side, no doubt about that. Swing, crouch down, delivery now, second shot. It's got to be the key here for Debbie White. Question the weight. I question the weight here. Looks to me as though it's going to be very short, and it is. It's really piled the pressure on now in a big way. Sandra Keith, skip of the composite side, looks to be, just needs to get past the front to count. Won't want to give a shoulder. And the call was it counts. And of course now Debbie White has to get past that bowl as well to draw second shot. Here's big pressure here on the Hinuera skip. She plays her last bowl on the 13th end. It's certainly got more weight than the first, that's for sure. Definitely better weighted.
Is it going to get around that front bowl though?
Oh, it's going to hit one up.
Moves it into the area, which is not going to be the worst result, but it's going to be 3, I assume. See if that's, is it maybe counted for, so 2 taken away.
Because that was the first bowl.
So maybe counted for the 3rd.
That was the short bowl of Debbie White's, of course, that Debbie White ran into. So a bit of luck really going the Hinuera side, because they were certainly, that bowl was running away from the head. Certainly
measure for 3rd here. So 2 confirmed, 2 bowls taken away. Now, whether that bowl that she's promoted, is it good enough?
Looks like 3.
Yeah, 3 signalled there by Claire Hendra. So 18-8. And even though it wasn't the 6 or the 5 it could have been,
it's a big end.
Still a very big end, opening up a 10-shot advantage now with 5 ends remaining in this contest. 18-8, Sandra Keith leading Debbie White.
So, of course, the big lesson there is how you respond to the pressure. And at the moment, it's the Sandra Keith's side that is applying the pressure from bowl 1, end after end after end. And the Debbie White side just hasn't been able to match the front of what the Sandra Keith side has been delivering, as we see here again. Taylor Bruce, look at this, right to the jack, a front toucher. You know, what can you say?
Well, yeah, it's been clear, and you brought it up in the previous end, where the success has started from Sandra Keith, and it's been Taylor Bruce. Ultra consistent off the front, and has really laid at the platform. And then nice little moments from Selena Smith and Claire Hendra. Really, Sandra Keith has not been called upon too many times. It's the weight too much in the gutter, and Those are the mistakes you can't really afford to make, Kevin. When
Well,
you need bowls on the green when you're trying to play catch-up at this stage.
Well, we go back to the third end, Brenton, and that's when Debbie White's side scored a very, very good 3. In fact, they were holding more than that until it was saved. Here's another bowl from Taylor Bruce. Going to go in behind the head. Does it go to the ditch? Yes, it does.
Oh, that's a rare mistake from Taylor Bruce. I think you can count on one hand how many
So since that
ineffective
third
bowls
end,
she's had.
they haven't been able to build a head. And they haven't been able to build a head because what Taylor Bruce has done early on off the head. And that's the big difference as we see Jocelyn Holton play her last bowl on this day, 14th end. Of course, running out of ends as well as the Hindueta side. And this bowl is going to just sit outside the Taylor Bruce shot bowl. So we'll see now Selena Smith will no doubt go to the backhand side, I would say. Her favoured backhand side, playing up towards the port end here at Tauranga. Sun gone behind the clouds a bit now. Still beautiful conditions though.
Yeah, great weather for bowls. Really is. It's not too hot as well. Very comfortable. Just a little light breeze coming across the green.
So the bowler Selena Smith just goes by, and Carol Cox been called by her skip to play on her forehand. Of course, remembering last year in the Nationals in Nainai, Debbie White as well got through the semi-finals after she went down to Mandy Boyd, in fact, in that semi-final. Mandy Boyd, of course, got beaten yesterday, going for a three-peat. Carol Cox is going to get to the jack, sits on the bowl, well played by the... Still got the shot was the call, still signalling one down was Debbie White. On the forehand now, we'll see change of hand here from Selena Smith. Good crowd in here, Brenton, as I'm sure by the time this afternoon those finals get underway, there'll be more people here at this club, Mount Maunganui.
Yeah, Sharon Sims said it was pretty hard to get a park because of the crowd here in attendance, which is great to see. Obviously, there's still a few spots available. You obviously can sit on the lovely grass just to our left of our commentary position and look over proceedings. It can let you know that the 2 finals are going to be played on rink number 2, which is right in front of us and just to the left of where Debbie White is now. So a lot of viewing positions there. So if you are in the area, come on down to Bowls Mount Maunganui. Free entry, of course.
And I'm sure there's always been the thing about bowls seating around on the grassed area here. I'm sure it can be accommodated as we see this bowl. Carol Cox just drop under the line. Another thing which has been important in this game, Brenton, is that consistently Selena Smith, Taylor Bruce, their bowls came back to the centre line most of the game, whereas the Hindueta side haven't been able to get that back to that centre line, thus not creating effective bowls, and it just highlights the importance of getting back to the centre line. As we see this bolt of Claire Hendra is going to cut under the centre line, sit on the Carol Cox bowl. Of course, at this point of the game, all that Sandra Keith is worried about is making sure that we don't drop a 3, 4, 5. And if you drop a 1, that's fine, another end gone. So in a pretty controlling position is the Sandra Keith skip side at this stage of the match.
Great steady cam from Tamara.
Bev Corbett here. This is a good bowl from Bev Corbett. This will be the shot as it falls in alongside the jack. Well played by the number 3 for the Hindueta side. Of course, Bev Corbett, a winner of New Zealand fours, back playing with the Khans in '97, and of course has won done numerous Waikato titles. And the Settle family, in fact, they own the honours board of Waikato in both the men and the women, and the Hindueta club itself, a little wee country club out the back of Matamata. But certainly, Brendan, a very strong and competitive club, isn't it? As they've proven the Bowls 3-5, winning the national title last year and then playing in the televised event and holding their position for next year.
We know how difficult that is to get into Bowls 3-5 through that route, winning the National Winter Club. He got a number of very good combinations, and they managed to do it.
Need to try and score some numbers.
So you heard Debbie White then saying, come on, we've got to score some numbers. So she's asking Bev Corbett to try and change the hand on the backhand to get to the Taylor Bruce bowl, which is second shot. To set it out, she would make 3 of it, but she's under the line on that shot. And you can see the Taylor Bruce bowl just sitting in behind the jack, or along the side of the jack. Very hard shot to play with that line running into it. I just wonder if it's better to play it on the other hand to try and face it out. Really, you're playing at a blind spot to where that bowl actually is with the 2 bowls in front. Hard shot to play. Holding 1 is the Hinuera side as we skips change over on the 14th end. And Mike Kernahan up against Dean Elgar and Shannon McElroy up against Morris Symes.
Yeah, I think the defending champions Dean Elgar on the brink a bit here. Looks like Mike Kernan's on 19. Last update I said he was on 16. So Dean Elgar was only on 8, I think. So yeah, 19-8 it is after 12 ends of that match. Mike Kernahan over Dean Elgar. And Mike Kernahan's 4 have just grabbed the mat again. So they're going to be into the 20s now. Mike Kernahan's 4. Waiting for that to be confirmed. 21 to 8 now after 13 of the 18 ends. So a lot of work for the defending champs to do, unless they're to follow Mandy Boyd out of the tournament at the quarterfinal stage.
It's a big mountain to climb against someone like Kernahan for sure. But who knows, Dean Elgar? We won't say anything because we saw it happen last year. So we'll just let the scoreboard do the talking, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I can't remember if the margin was quite that big. But
no, it wasn't, but it was. Yeah,
it was sizable.
It was sizable, and Bev Corbett. I agree with Bev Corbett. What she's trying to call this shot on to. Debbie White got the yardage sheet out there. So you have the sheet out, looking at it, looking at the number of ends to play, or.
Yeah, I assume that was what it was, knowing that they are running out.
Certainly
only 4
are.
ends after this in the match.
So we'll see. Holding 1 is the Debbie White skip side, trailing 18-8 though as we play the 14th end. Play first bowl on this, the 14th end. And playing what I regard as the best option shot to play through the port under the bowls on the forehand side to get to the Taylor Bruce bowl.
They're interested here. Jocelyn Holton, Bev Corbett, urging it on.
This is certainly the shot to play if she can get to the Taylor Bruce
Just
bowl.
going to slide through. Does get a touch on the Taylor Bruce bowl, not quite as much as they wanted.
Certainly the shot to play, and very, very, very good attempt there by Debbie White to get to the Taylor Bruce bowl. Whether she's made 2 of it or not, who knows? Well, Claire Hendra is having a good look at it.
Very fair effort. Great bowl. And now what can Sandra Keith? I don't think she likes it out of the hand. She turns it back on it on the mat and well under the line. So just we'll see. Certainly 1 to Debbie White. Now, is it 2? Did she manage to knock the Taylor Bruce bowl enough? She's got another bowl to play, of course.
So now a change of hands because the bowl has been moved further back out to the back of the head, or deeper into the head, and is now easier to see on that backhand side without having to get it. Well, you've still got to get around the 2 bowls, but definitely widened just to give it a width to the target area, and can make 3 of it.
If she can sit on that Taylor Bruce bowl, knock it out of the head.
On the backhand, and you wear a cap on. Certainly looks to me as though
not narrow, doesn't it?
Looks on the narrow line out of the hand. It's going to come, has to be, might get the jack instead. No, she doesn't.
It's going to slide through. So they're going to take away 1. That's confirmed. Now, did Debbie White with her previous bowl, knock away the Taylor Bruce bowl enough to make it 2. They're going to do a measure. Yeah, I think he knew whether. Certainly believe it's 2.
So,
but Sandra Keith's 4, not willing to just concede the second. So now, Claire Hendra doing the honours again.
So here's that conversation. Where do we go? Where are they going to place the... Well, the important thing here is not to... Jocelyn Holton's a relatively newer player, and let's not try and confuse things or alter the length too much, because you need bowls on the head at this point in time. So if you put pressure on the draw here.
There's the crowd in attendance here at Bowls Mount Wanganui. It's confirming it was a 2 on the previous end, so 18-10 now after 14 of the 18 end. 4 ends remaining here in this women's 4s semi-final. So they've gone for a shorter length end. Round of applause for Shannon McElroy on the rink alongside this one. And his quarter-final against Morris Symes.
So here's the draw of Karen Holton. Jocelyn Holton shortened the length up considerably. And it's pretty good opening, just under a metre to the jack line. Certainly finished on the centre line. Sandra Keith indicating to Taylor Bruce the amount of room that you've got to draw past the Jocelyn Holton bowl for shot. And we've certainly seen a very, very good display to date from Taylor Bruce. As we just see Morris Symes just lodge that Shannon McElroy bowl over there. You hear the crowd applauding, and Shannon McElroy applauding. It's a great bowl from Symes.
Well, there's a lot of bowls to watch, isn't there? Obviously, the game we're broadcasting for you, but the crowd treated to 3 other matches with the other women's semi-final, also the 2 men's quarterfinals. And we'll have a similar situation at around midday when we start coverage of the women's 4s final. We'll have the 2 men's semi-finals as well. So again, I repeat, if you are in the area, why not get on down here to watch some very high quality bowls, some of the very best, or the very best in the country.
So
all on show.
Taylor Bruce again has drawn the shot. Unfortunately, Jocelyn Holton's second bowl just fell short of the line. As you watch this bowler, Taylor Bruce just get past the front, draw to the jack. Here it is again, right on top of it, front toucher, moves the jack. Been a very, very strong performance here from the blackjack Taylor Bruce.
Oh, Sandra Keith's getting worn out, bending down and marking all those bowls of Taylor Bruce. He's been peppering the jack. It's been an absolute exhibition of leading, hasn't it, from Taylor Bruce?
Oh, Taylor Bruce has done the job that that all skips sort of hope for, that's going to come along. Well, it's certainly come along today for the Sandra Keith skip side, and I'm sure they'll be applauding the efforts of Taylor Bruce should they create the way into the final, which we'll know in 3 ends' time, of course, we will know, but a lot of it has been set up to date by the work of Taylor Bruce and complemented by Selena Smith off the front of the Sandra Keith skip side. As the sun pours its way in here, and we see Selena Smith draw another good shot sitting alongside the jack.
Yeah, certainly. I think that felt the temperature rise a couple of degrees in just the last few minutes, really. Palmy conditions here at Bowls Mount Wanganui.
Great attempt here by Carol Cox. Gets a touch on the jack, sits alongside it, and certainly makes shot of it. Selena Smith will follow that up.
Oh, relieved, I think, is the word for Debbie White. Just needed something in the area. Carol Cox delivered.
He had to wait to that shot bowl and turn it through the head. sleep. Selena Smith on the backhand. Playing down to what is that Carol Cox shot bolt sitting alongside the jack. Breaking its way down now towards the head. Looks on a good, just went through the gap in between the Taylor Bruce bowl and the shot bolt. Great
Not
effort.
far away at all. That's exactly what Sandra Keith called. You mentioned it, Kevin, playing with weight to try and dislodge that shot bowl, the previous bowl of Carol Cox.
And of course, it does give the Sandra Keith side a bowl over the head, so if they continue with that probing weight down through there and the jack moves with it, you've got a bowl well and behind the head. Bev Corbett now change your hand, trying to get another bowl on the head, just going to draw around in behind. Pretty good weight. I don't think we'll see much change of strategy here from the Sandra Keith skip side. Claire Hendricks, she'll now endeavour to play down to the shot bolt on the backhand. The Silverstream player, Sandra Keith, not yet looking at this one, just going to go out on the wider side, but again in behind the head. There's something to say, Brendan, isn't it, about these national events? Get them to some of the provinces, and you can see today, for example, with the crowd that's here, that I'm not saying that Tauranga is like a little regional province, but it's good to see that they're coming to these sorts of areas, and the crowd we can see today have certainly turned out in numbers, and it's the weather's good, of course, as well, but they're certainly here in their numbers to watch the best in action, aren't they?
Well, I think there's something obviously to be said about moving these events around the country. Everyone gets an opportunity to see the very best New Zealand has got to offer, and also obviously those players, local players, get to play in some of their areas of the country as well, rather than having to travelling vast distances to make it to the nationals all the time.
Absolutely, and they can. I've mentioned the point to both New Zealand that for the national fours moving forward, an area that I see is ideal, and that being Nelson, the Nelson region. Very good greens, good close proximity around the geographics, plenty of accommodation, reasonably easy to get to. North Island teams, of course, of the bottom half North Island boys, they can drive down to Wellington, jump on the ferry.
Unless you get stranded there, Kevin, like you did last time you were there.
Well, I don't have the best record of getting in and out of Nelson, actually. No, I don't. One tournament they didn't want me to get there, and the second tournament they wouldn't let me leave. But in New Zealand, thank you. You got me out in the finish. So here now is Debbie White needing to score again, holding the shot. Going to be short.
Yeah, assuming there'll be enough greens in Nelson.
I had a quick count. In fact, we had a chat just the other day. If we go down, if you were to go down, for example, as far as Havelock, but in Nelson itself, you've got Stoke, Nelson, United. There's Rewaka, Wakefield. There's a number of other greens in and around the sort of Nelson region. We've travelled to Rotorua for this particular event. So.
Oh, exactly. You could easily go to Plenum, couldn't you?
Absolutely. So I think take it to and Nelson's a nice region. Normally treats you, except for the times I fly in and out, it normally treats you with pretty good weather. So here now is Sandra Keith endeavouring to dislodge this shot bowl. Carol Cox going to go by on the wide side. Holding one, though, is the Hinuera side as they trail 18 shots to 10 as we come to the back end of the 15 of 18 ends. Of course, as Brendan has said throughout the morning, we'll be back at the completion of this game around 12, which I would imagine, with the final of the women's fours. And while that's been played, we'll have the semi-final of the men's fours. And then to be followed around 3 o'clock, I believe, with the final of the men's fours. So here's now Debbie White on the forehand, trying to add to the count. On the draw, definitely holding one. Just question again the weight.
They're urging it on, but I don't think it's going to happen for her. Coming well short. And not happy with that one, Debbie White. She slaps her hand.
Well, she'll be very disappointed throughout because, really played some very good bowls, this Debbie White, but also a number of short...
Been a mixed bag, isn't it?
It has been a mixed bag, Brendan, and more importantly, normally at quite important times as well in the game. There was a chance to add, and unable to do so. And you were Jocelyn Holton certainly got the mat.
Yeah, I don't think Claire Hendra is willing to give it to her just yet, though. She's going to do the measure to make sure.
It was the one to Hinuera.
So another to Debbie White's quartet as they fight to stay in this contest. So now after 15 of the 18 ends, Sandra Keith 18, leading Debbie White 11. This is one of two, of course, women's fours semi-finals. The other being Wendy Green up against Denise West. And the scoreboard obstructed at the moment, but we'll give you an update of that one shortly. Got two men's quarterfinals going on. Shannon McElroy 12-9 leading Morris Symes after 15 of the 18 ends. That's a very close fought match. Mike Kernahan 21-8 over the defending champion Dean Alger after 13 of the 18 ends in that one. So getting a bit closer to shake hands time, and both of those matches, but particularly the McElroy-Symes match, looks like it'll go the full 18.
And then, of course, we've got that semi-final between Mike Carroll of Stokes Valley up against 13 times national title holder Gary Lawson and his team of Jamie Hill, Caleb Hope and Sheldon Begley-Howley.
Yeah, no doubt they'll be arriving around now. They have a few chance to get a bit of a practice end in, and then the trial ends will start around midday. Of course, all dependent on exactly when these matches finish.
So, the bowler, Jocelyn Holton's going to finish virtually jack level. Plenty of room for the consistent, well-performing Taylor Bruce, who certainly has run a good exhibition here this morning in this semi-final. On the laying down on her forehand is Taylor Bruce in the Burnside Club in Christchurch, and again looks to be on that line which she's persevered on, a consistent line right throughout the game, and draws right to the centre line just in behind the jack. Certainly.
And when her bowls haven't been the scoring bowls, they've often limited Debbie White's side to only getting singles, or maybe two, because she's always in and around the head, isn't she? So it's made it very difficult for Debbie White's forward to build anything.
Well, it's certainly been about what we talk about as effective bowls, Brenton, and as you rightly say, they may not be the shot, but they are effective bowls as the head progresses, and that's what you want from your lead, and Taylor Bruce has done that very, very consistently. And the reason why they become effective bowls is because they're finishing on the centre line. They're not sort of wide out on the rink or under the centre line. As we watch this of Taylor Bruce, again the applause comes from the skip Sandra Keith, finishes just lower the jack, but certainly another good holding in from the lead from Sandra Keith as we watch now Carol Cox, the number 2 for Debbie White.
Well, we are seeing hands being shaken over there between Mike Kernahan and Dean Alger. We can only assume that Mike Kernahan has beaten the man he called his nemesis from last year, Dean Alger, of course, a rematch of the skips from last year's men's fours final at Nainai Bowling Club in Lower Hutt. Now this time going the way of Mike Kernahan. He's taken down the defending champions from Taranaki, and it is Mike Kernahan is through to the semi-finals, joining Gary Lawson and Mike Carroll. Now will it be Shannon McElroy who plays in the semi-finals from midday, or will it be Morris Symes?
I just see Shannon McElroy, I think, put a 1-up on the board in that McElroy-Symes game. I can't actually see what the board reads from here, but and Tony Grantham's on the mat, so one would assume that certainly was one.
13-9 now the score after 16 of the 18 ends there. McElroy leading Morris Symes. So at the moment, it's looking like Mike Kernahan, McElroy. That were another good match. And isn't it great to see all the blackjacks pretty much in action at the pointy end of the tournament? And the only blackjack men who's knocked out before this stage has been Andrew Kelly, and he was by another blackjack.
Correct.
And Shannon McElroy.
So all in all, they have turned up at this event, and they have no doubt brought some pleasure to the selectors on the performances of so many of their players. As we see this bowl of Selena Smith, this is going to finish up on the short side. Still though, Taylor Bruce holding the shop at 18 shots to 11 as we play in the 16. So St. Bev Corbett trying to get to the Carol Cox bowl, turn it through or sit underneath it for shot. Bev Corbett, well established, a record holder of a number of Waikato titles, and there's a lot of them. As we watch Bev Corbett bowl now, just going to break in towards the head, get him behind the jack. More likely beat, I'd say, third shot. Good effort by the evergreen Bev Corbett, winning those New Zealand fours, of course, way back in 1997. Millie Khan, Bev Corbett, Min Risbridge and Jan Khan. Back in 97, they won the fours. Of course, that was when Matamata, the woman, was the true dynasty of bowls. Rhoda Ryan, Adrian Lambert, the Khan combinations, Marina, Thelma Clements. There was just half the New Zealand side, well, most of the New Zealand side, in fact, came from Matamata, and that's where Bev Corbett started her bowls dynasty. We watch now Corbett trying to get to the Carol Cox bowl to turn it in for shots. She's very close to getting that result. In fact, gets the jack, moves it around the corner. Great bowl from the Waikato skip. Waikato number 3, and will definitely be the Hinuera side holding as 3 down is the call. 3 down is the call here from.
Well, now these last 3 bowls for Sandra Keith's quartet. The first now being bowled by Claire Hendry, and 2 to come from Keith, become very important in the context of this entire match, Kevin Nicklin.
Certainly is, and here comes the Claire Hendry bowl, 3 down on the head, trying to get to where that shot is on a good line now. This bowl of Claire Hendry as it breaks in towards the jack and the shot line falls over, and no indication. I'd say the front bowl of the triangle would still be the shot bowl, whether it's 2 or.
Yeah, I maybe even favour the Hendry bowl, just given that it's almost jack level. It's very hard to tell, obviously, from our camera angles.
Well, an indication in the moment how.
Certainly not 3, we know that.
No, definitely not 3
no
now.
Longer
no,
3
not
for Debbie
definitely
White.
not, definitely not 3.
Great bowl from Claire Hendry. Whether she's grabbed the shot or not, she's certainly cut the count to maybe 1 or 2 at best for Debbie White's 4.
So here is now Debbie White. It's interesting. I just had a look. Over a period in the 90s, over a 10-year period in the women's fours, 9 years of those are won by Matamata sides.
Incredible, isn't it?
So
absolutely incredible.
That shows the strength that was there at that point. As we see Debbie White trying to get to the Claire Hendry bowl, is a great attempt, rocks it. Yeah, 9 out of 10 years, the Matamata combinations.
Wow.
Won the National Women's Fours. So here now is Sandra Keith.
Similar dominance that Mandy Boyd's had in the
it
last decade.
is, because if we look now, we've had 2. We've had, in fact, it's been 4, isn't it? That Angela Boyd has won. So, you know, Mandy Boyd's won.
She
So
won 5. In fact, she was skipped 4, and then she was the 3 back in
Correct.
2011 as well. So 5 out of 9 for Mandy Boyd.
yeah, 2011 playing in again from Sue Bernard, actually from the Waikato. And then, of course, skipped in 2014 and 2018, 2019. That's pretty good.
And 2016.
And 2016, that's it's a pretty good effort, isn't it? Well, it's an amazing effort, really.
Yeah, well, certainly the favoured 4 going into it, bringing back the entire defending champion lineup of Kirsten Edwards, Lee Griffin, and her sister Angela Boyd. But not to be this time. They were beaten in the quarterfinals by Wendy Green, who I can tell you is leading Denise West in their semi-final, 15-8, after 13 of the 18 ends in the other semi-finals. So Wendy Green very much showing that there was no fluke, that result over Mandy Boyd, looking to make it all the way to the final. Face the winner of this match.
A very well performed player, Wendy Green, in the regional provincial scene. So back to the mat goes Debbie White, knowing that on end 16, if he hasn't got the shot, certainly needs to, if there's an opportunity, of scoring a number after Bev Corbett got that trail on the jack, needs to be played now. Looks as though Debbie White is going to be playing with weight, and she certainly is, to get to the Claire Henry Bowl, on the charge to the Henry Bowl, and goes past it.
Well, it's always going to be difficult. It's a fine line, isn't it? Because you have to get round this other
Very much. It's not
short bowls.
Not an easy shot to sort of.
When the bowl's out wide like that, very difficult to access.
When the bowl's moved off the centre line, it is just a harder target to get to. As we see, Sandra Keith pull up short, and we'll see quickly now what the. So there's been one come out of the Hinuera side. So
Taylor Bruce has grabbed the mat. Is she handing it over?
Out comes the measure.
So 1 has come out, so we can assume that Debbie White has picked up 1. Is it 2? There's Jocelyn Holton this time doing the honours for Hinuera. And 1 indicated. So another on the board for Debbie White. The ends fast running out and only 2 remaining. 6 shots to differential. 18-12 it is after 16 of the 18 ends.
So that was obviously a 3-shot opportunity there for Debbie White. Just couldn't quite get to what was obviously the second shot.
Oh, they're fighting hard, aren't they?
Certainly
that's
are.
for sure, but they're just not quite able to really come up with the clear-cut opportunities because of the consistency off the front from Sandra Keith's 4.
Well, you know, Debbie White is always going to be, she'll fight to the end. She's one of those players, and I think that's one of the added strengths that she does bring to this New Zealand blackjack side. She's certainly a fighter and will certainly give 200% and fight right to the end.
Well, Sharon Sims, interesting you say that, said pretty much as much. She says she's got a bit of mongrel.
Yes, she has. You know, the big challenge for Debbie White, of course, is that one of the disciplines, of course, that she's going to be leading, an unaccustomed position to her at this point in time. And, you know, it is a big challenge being able to go into a World Championship event as to lead when it's not your normal position. So a lot of work will need to be done, and Debbie White, I know, will put the work in herself to make sure that give herself every best opportunity. But I'm not saying it's a big call, but it's a big challenge. That's all I'll say. Debbie White will be fine playing 2 in the 4s, absolutely no issues here whatsoever. But it's just that the challenge of leading in a 2-bowl discipline when leading's not your accustomed position and you're playing against some of the best players in the world.
We saw her do a bit of leading in bowls 3-5, which is of course in the lead up to the World Champion to Champion singles, which is, and I suppose that's what she's got to think about. Basically, like obviously playing 2-bowl singles, isn't it?
It is.
And I suppose she can draw on that experience. She's a very good singles player.
Well, the big thing is, as you rightly say, it's, you know, singles being a 4-bowl discipline, but it's you win singles by what you do with your first 2 bowls, because the other 3 and 4 bowl you're normally trying to cover or recover. So it's what
Exactly.
you do.
You're not drawing like you usually do with the first two bowls.
No,
Exactly.
So that makes it, being a good singles player, the importance of those first two bowls is certainly the key thing for Debbie White, as we see Taylor Bruce, who that's more than likely, well, he's going to have shot, that's more than likely, more than likely Taylor Bruce is sort of feeling quite comfortable with the scoreboard and hasn't, but she's certainly been outstanding, Brendan, hasn't she, end after end after end. There's no question about that. And
well, this is probably one of her worst ends.
Yes, it is. Yes.
And it's not that bad.
No, I didn't want to be harsh on her at all.
No, exactly right. Well, that's the thing. She's been outstanding, and we've said that throughout the call, haven't we, with Blackjack Taylor Bruce, with her consistency off the front. But maybe this is just the opening. Debbie White's four needs. For the first time in a long time, they haven't got two purple bowls to deal with around the head.
Because they certainly have been, and Selena Smith is going to be short with her first bowl. In fact, going to be a couple of metres short. And you mentioned this before, Brenton, is the work that Taylor Bruce has done in this game has, I'm not going to say made it easy for Sandra Keith, but she certainly had a pretty comfortable ride on the way through, hasn't she? Whereas Debbie White has been under pressure end after end after end. And Sandra Keith hasn't really been called on that often to play the big recovery shots.
The table's been laid, hasn't it, by Taylor Bruce for the vast majority of the 16 ends that have been played. Unable to capitalise the front end of Debbie White's four, Jocelyn Holton and Carol Cox.
That green as well, now we're getting that sun on it, had it for an hour and a half. Definitely would have picked up that second of green, a speed. It will be later on today, of course, it'll sweat a bit as well, which is what normally happens. And but it has picked up a wee bit of speed for sure. So Debbie White saying to Bev Corbett, play down here on your forehand. The black bucket hat, and you wear attire, which is now well known on your television screens, and you wear a sight very, very not only good on the green, but exceptionally very good for the sport off the green, and what they bring to the Bowls 3-5.
Oh, near perfect that from Bev Corbett, just trying to get a little touch on that wide bowl of Taylor Bruce, and would have trailed towards the jack. Just slid inside it. Back to that centre line past the jack.
Hendra trying to draw. Looks to be on a reasonably good line. It's a matter of how far it's going to come back towards the centre line. Sandra Keith urging it on. Not quite going to make it. Bev Corbett will again endeavour to get on that forehand line. Down just, as Brenton said, just so narrowly went on past the jack. Question, how's the weight with this bowl? Looks as though it's going to fall on the short side, and it is. So the call from Sandra Keith to her number 3, Claire Hendra. Beat your last bowl by a couple of feet, and he'll have the shot or count it. Here she is, Silverstream Wellington singles player. On the backhand, looks as a better weight this bowl. It's going to get, in fact, it's going to go by like the Bev Corbett bowl. Good thing for Sandra Keith, knowing that we're not going to drop a large number. So we come to the end of end 17. So
well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's all about damage limitation at this stage for Sandra Keith. You don't mind if you drop a 1.
No, not at all.
A 2's not the worst result either. You just don't want to drop that big number to give Debbie White a chance going into that 18th and final end.
Well, you drop a 4 or a 5, things start to shake around a bit.
Yeah, certainly. We saw that yesterday, didn't we?
We certainly did.
Telling us about the Wendy Green-Mandy Boyd match, where Wendy Green came from behind to snatch that one. Like 27-22, I think it finished, or 27-24. Very high scoring.
On the backhand is Debbie White. She went to draw this shot. Looks as though going to get the jack. No, it goes by the jack. And I'm sure Sandra Keith will be more than happy if she gets in behind the head where that trail is the attempt from Debbie White. Not going to get to the back though. It's on a good line, this bowl, but it's going to, in fact, no, it's not going to timber into anything, but it's going to fall short of the line. So the most I can see on the trail, Brent, is possibly 3.
Yeah, I think that close at the moment. I actually think that we talked about Taylor Bruce not having a good start to this end. I think she still may be holding shot though.
That bowl on the side, yeah, that's right. So Debbie White endeavouring to get the shot or get a trail on the jack. It's got to come all the way back. It won't. Goes outside the Claire Hendra bowl. And I think it's shake hands time.
Yeah, we might be about to. Do they?
So we'll see. Now, Sandra Keith on her backhand, endeavouring to, I would say, to turn the Claire Hendra bowl over. We definitely, and it is shake hands time. Yes, it is.
That's it. So Sandra Keith is through to the final of the women's fours here at the Summerset National Fours Bowls Mount Maunganui, as they shake hands at the end of the 17th end, taking an unassailable lead into the 18th and final. So they call it there. Now, will it be Sandra Keith playing under Wendy Green or Denise West? We'll give you a score update on that one when we get an opportunity. But Kevin, overall, a very impressive performance by Sandra Keith, for particularly off the front from the blackjack Taylor Bruce.
Oh, absolutely. And, if you look at the what I would call the clusters on the very first end, we saw the Sandra Keith side score a 3, then on the 4th end a 5, then the 11th end a 3, the 13th end a further 3, and that's really what made the big difference, was the clusters of significant numbers of which they picked up. But as you rightly said, Brendan, this all came about really by the work that Taylor Bruce did off the front. She was outstanding right throughout the 17 ends that were played, and may have had one end, as we said, which we'll say was a bit off target. But other than that, her has been outstanding in this particular game, and they'd be very, very pleased with that result, the way how the team came together. And of course they'll play the winner of the other match over there, which Wendy Green has got her in front at this point in time.
Yeah, 15-10 it is after 14 of the 18 ends, so that's tightened up a bit. So looking like at this stage, Sandra Keith, Wendy Green in the women's fours final. But make sure you do join us back here at midday. Around then we will have the start of the women's fours final. What we do know for sure is that Sandra Keith is through after taking down Debbie White in this women's semi-final here at Bowls Mount Maunganui. Join us back here at the top of the hour as we have more bowls action for you from the final day of the Summerset National Fours in the Bay of Plenty.